You were living there, you were paying rent.
Correct.
There was a fire in the house.
Everything I've ever owned was in that house.
So these are items that you said you should be reimbursed for. Body oil moisturizer for $13. You think that they're going to reimburse you for that? It's not happening.
This is Judy Justice. Lillian Rogers is suing her ex-boyfriend's parents, Jody and Robert Denniston, for insurance money after her property was destroyed in a fire.
Court can order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case 3054, Rogers versus Denniston.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Miss Rogers, let me see if I understand what your position is. You were in foster care for a long period of time, and at some point you met the defendant's son and became involved with the defendant's son. In what year was that, and how old were you?
June of 2019, I had just turned 18.
And I assume that you either decided to or you had aged out of the residential foster care system, and you were invited to live in the defendant's home.
Yes, ma'am.
And you lived in the defendant's home from June 2019 until when?
Until October of 2021, when the house fire occurred.
And what were you doing between 2019 and 2021?
As in occupation?
What were you doing? Were you in school? Were you working? What were you doing?
I was doing full-time school, and then I had a couple of jobs here and there.
What full-time school?
Was in school to become a social worker for foster youth.
In what months were you in school and year?
August 2019, all the way up until now.
Okay. And who was paying for your school?
The state of California.
Are you almost finished with a degree?
Yes, ma'am.
What school?
I'm going to Stanislaus State in Turlock.
Is that where you were going to school when you were living with them?
I went to a junior college with them, and then halfway through living with them, I switched to Stanislaus State, which is 4-year.
Were you receiving housing subsidies from foster care or just tuition for school?
The last 3 months up until I turned 21, I was receiving house subsidy.
And how much were you receiving from the state as a housing subsidy?
I only got $1,000 3 times.
Did you use that housing subsidy to give any portion of that money to the defendants?
I used a portion of it. They had requested $150 a month.
Starting when?
Starting October 2020, they started requesting $100 a month in order to pay for PG&E, gas, electricity.
And did you pay it?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, this is the lawsuit. There was a fire in the house, and it is your claim that $6,000 worth of your property was destroyed. You had no renter's insurance.
Correct.
And it is your claim that the defendants used receipts that you had given them to put into insurance, and they were reimbursed by insurance for your claims, but never gave you any money.
Correct.
That's what the case is about. My first question is, how do you know they were reimbursed for your claims?
I had submitted any and all receipts for the insurance company. In September of 2022, I had broken up with their son in December of 2022. So a couple-month time span, I knew that they were moving into their house about 2 weeks after the fact that I had broken up with their son. So after they had moved into their house, after everything was refurnished and rebuilt, that's when I knew that they had gotten paid out.
Well, I'm just asking you, do you have any information from the insurance company that part of the claim, such their bills that were in your name, that part of the claim was actually paid to the defendants?
I had a Google Doc form that the Dennisons had sent me a little bit ago, and it was just them stating that this is how much they think that I deserve from the fire. I believe deserve is the correct word.
Maybe I could take a look at that.
And then I also have all the receipts and everything that I had submitted to the Dennisons.
I may look at that too, but I would like to see the first document that you discussed.
There was actually 2 documents that they had sent me.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Kevin brings Lillian's document to Judy, who reviews it.
What's this truck money?
That was on a separate case, Your Honor.
What do you mean it was on a separate case?
I had filed with small claims court 2 separate cases against the Dennisons, one against Mr. and Mrs. Dennison, and one against their son, Bryson Dennison.
What's the truck money is my question.
I had bought in him a truck, and then we had totaled the vehicle, and he still had owed me money on it, but I allowed him to get a different truck with the reimbursement from the insurance.
What happened with that case of the $3,300?
It still hasn't got paid to me yet.
What?
It still has not got paid.
Have
to
you
me.
gone to court with it?
No, not yet.
Are you scheduled to go to court?
Yes,
with it?
ma'am.
When?
On the 29th of this month.
And that case is not against the Denisons, that's against their son.
Yes, ma'am.
That's you?
Yeah.
Okay. This says this makes everything final and done with this payment. We're not talking about the truck. $2,803.17. That's what you said that her items were worth.
Correct.
Did you pay her that?
No, because she did not agree to that amount.
Just a second. But that's what you offered her. $2,803.17.
Correct.
Caption. Coming up.
In June, you ordered things online, and you had shipped to you a body oil moisturizer for $13. This happened in October. You think that they're going to reimburse you for that? It's not happening. I want you to get your act together. That's not happening.
Lillian nods. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Lillian, Jody, and Robert.
Lillian Rogers claims her ex-boyfriend's parents, Jody and Robert Deniston, owe her money from an insurance claim after their home was destroyed in a fire.
What is this broken items, hole in the wall of being paid with washer and dryer that we didn't take out of the house? They were Rob's sisters and given to their son for use, value of at least, what is that?
That's regarding the second case, Your Honor. I was being
That has nothing to do. All I want to know is this whole document that you gave me has to do with a lot of other stuff.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
I was the mediator between the two of them.
Okay, but the $2,800 was for the fire damage,
Correct.
for the receipt for the fire damage.
Correct.
And all of this other stuff has to do with the truck.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well then, if you add $2,800 to the $3,300 the truck money, that's what you're suing for here.
No. No, ma'am. I ended up going ahead and printing out all the documents and all the receipts that I had produced to the Denistons regarding the fire contents money, and I had added everything up. And then I also had their spreadsheet that they had submitted into their insurance company that has my name as well as everybody else in the household's name on it.
Okay. Was any of the property that you lost reimbursed to you by the state of California?
No, ma'am.
Nothing.
No.
Lillian hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
What was the date of the fire?
October
First,
1st, 2022.
21.
21.
Well, in June, you ordered things online, and you had shipped to you a body oil moisturizer for $13. This happened in October. You think that they're going to reimburse you for that? It's not happening. I want you to get your act together. That's not happening.
So what we were told from the insurance adjusters was any and all receipts that we had, and I only had online receipts, unfortunately, due to the pandemic.
What?
I only had online receipts due to the pandemic. And
What I'm telling you is,
so I was told to produce any and all receipts I had of everything that we had in the house, regardless if it was 2 toothpicks or
oh, well, that's not happening.
a mattress.
That's not happening. Not happening. When there was a fire in the house, Miss Rogers,
Yes.
the insurance company paid for the family to go to a hotel.
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
right? Did you contribute to that?
I paid my rent.
For how long?
I continued paying it until we left.
While you were in the hotel.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, she paid the $150.
How did you come up with the figure of $2,800?
It was in one of the insurance documents. It had listed in red on that form that she gave you, the depreciation of value. I had added a bunch of those items that she showed you on that first document that had Lily's name on it. It came to that amount minus the depreciation amount, and then that was the actual cash value is what they actually paid us.
May I see that in writing? That'd make my life a lot easier, and I don't have to go through
It's
this.
a huge document that I have on my email.
okay.
Okay.
Jody produces a phone.
Did you share that document with her?
Did I share it? No.
Okay, I'd like to take a look at it. Where are you living now, Miss Rogers? Where are you living now?
I'm living technically in a barn right now, but it's a refurnished barn. And then to add clarity, I would like to mention that I said to add clarity, I would like to mention that as far as my knowledge is, the Denisons, they had replacement insurance, which means that the depreciation value didn't matter as long as I went and purchased the same item and then brought back receipts to the insurance company.
Well, that may be them, not you.
Oh, absolutely.
That may be them, not you. You're not an insured. You sound like a smart gal. You were living there. You were paying rent. There was no negligence that caused this fire, I would assume.
No, ma'am.
On October 29th, after the fire, you bought an iPhone Pro Max
Yes.
for $1,200.
Yes. So from my understanding of a house fire, the only thing that burnt down was the garage. However, there's fire damage, there's fireman damage, and then
I want to know what happened to your phone.
Is smoke
You had your
damage.
phone.
yes. So as far as the smoke damage, any electronicals and
No. What happened after the fire on October 1st?
Yes.
You moved into a hotel.
Yes.
Did you use your phone between the time of the fire and October 21st? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
Okay. Then you had no right to buy another phone for $1,200.
Yes, ma'am. So according to the insurance agency, as well as the firemen and the police department, anything electronical within the house, the stove, phones, computers, anything else.
Not happening for you.
Okay.
Not happening for you.
Okay.
I don't have to see it. I just made up the difference. Yeah, I've just made up the
I
difference.
also have a list of items,
I went through enough of this to see where we're at.
and she did receive money from the state. My daughter, who's here in court, was a witness to her receiving gift cards from the state, from social services, to replace her items that were lost in the fire, such as clothing.
Did you receive any gift cards from the state?
No, ma'am.
Judy gestures for Jody's daughter to rise.
I assume you were friends while she was living there?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me your first name.
Kaylee.
Tell me about what you know about receiving gift cards from the state.
So the social worker came over to the house and was giving her a gift card to, it was either like Kohl's or JCPenney's, one of the sorts, which Lily then...
Just a second. Did you see the amount of those gift cards?
I did not see the amount, no, ma'am.
Easy. What was the amount of the gift card?
I did not receive any gift
Was a
cards.
social worker at your house?
The only time she's ever visited the house, which was in, I believe, August of 2021. That's the only time she's ever been to the house.
When we were living in the Airbnb, the social worker did come after the fire had occurred. She came over and then...
Do you remember what the name of the social worker was?
I do not.
Sit down. Stand up.
Caption, coming up.
I get a little bit leery when
Yeah.
bills are padded, and there were 1, 2, 3, 4 phones. Are these items that you listed?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Lillian, Jody, and Robert.
Lillian Rogers has accused her ex-boyfriend's parents, Jody and Robert Deniston, of owing her money from an insurance claim. Jody and Robert say they tried to pay Lillian, but she is being greedy.
Tell me your first name, please.
Bryson.
Bryson, did you, while you were still living with Miss Rogers in the hotel or thereafter, after the fire, did you discuss with her any subsidy that she received as a result of the fire from the state?
No.
When, for the first time, did you ever hear about these gift cards?
It was when the lawsuit was filed. She never told me about any of that.
She never did.
No.
And neither did your sister.
No.
Good, very good. Sit down. Thank you. Okay, just show me, would you, for a moment, what you're referring to with regard to the depreciation value of the items?
The depreciation value?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
and how you got to the $2,800, which I think is probably reasonable.
It's on that big file that's downloading.
If I may, Your Honor. So everything that I had in receipts right there is just everything that I had purchased online, not talking about anything that I've ever purchased from within the home for the Denisons, for myself, anything in store. Me and Kaylee Denison, we were quote unquote shopping buddies, and we'd go shopping every single week.
I don't care. All I'm telling you is, I looked at one major charge. There were charges for $13 for hand moisturizer and toothpaste. that go away.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
know, you use them up, but you had no reason to go to Apple to buy a new phone for $1,200 in a service plan. The fact that an insurance company person indicated to you that if there was a problem and if there was smoke, you could replace electronics, doesn't mean they're going to pay for it. And until you can produce evidence for me, and there's nothing here, that you put in claims for $6,000 and they got $6,000, which you cannot establish in what you gave me. Do you understand? I get a little bit leery
Yeah.
when bills are, to me, when
Yeah.
bills are padded, especially when these people took you into their home,
Absolutely.
you lived there 2.5 years, you paid a nominal rent, you bought an awful lot of stuff, which means that you spent your housing, the $3,000 that you were supposed to spend in, and I don't know what other monies you were getting from the state because you had to get some money to live.
No, ma'am. I had aged out of foster care and I was not eligible for any benefits outside of foster care besides the last 3 months of me turning 21. And by that point, I had to rebuy all of the items I've ever had because everything I've ever owned was in that house.
I know the feeling. I was just saying, I know the feeling. We lost everything in our home, too.
So that's where that $3,000 went to.
It's still downloading. What document I do have is her list, and I itemized what was hers, what was a gift, and what was not. And that's what has the totals on the bottom. No, I don't have that. It was like 2,000 pages long.
Jody hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Could you explain to me, I'm just curious, why are there 4 items here for iPhones?
That's what she's claiming, that she had bought all those phones. That's the list that she had given me of items that she had receipts for.
There were 1, 2, 3, 4 phones
No,
on
ma'am.
this.
I only had turned in the receipts for Bryson Denniston and I's phone. However, on our account, there was the other 2 phones within the home. It was still within the home.
Just a second.
So they got ruined.
Just a second. Are these items that you listed?
Those are the items with the receipts I helped produce to the Dennistons, correct?
So these are items that you said you should be reimbursed for.
Not me personally, because I didn't buy 2 of the phones.
Which 2 did you buy?
I only bought the first 2.
The 2 expensive ones for $2,500.
Yes.
Goodbye. $2,800, which is what they offered you. That's what you're getting. Goodbye. We're done here.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Lillian, then the Dennistons.
I'm glad that I was awarded something. It is unfortunate because I did lose everything that I did have in the fire, but it's okay because we can always rebuild and renew and everything else in between.
I still felt like we didn't owe her anything because she didn't have a renter's policy. She wasn't on our homeowners, but I agree.
I was alone in the house with their son, and it was a pretty scary experience. Thank goodness that a couple of us were home, so not everything in the whole house was tarnished. They were able to keep a couple of their personal items, so that was really nice.
I'm a little hurt. I opened up my heart, my home, my family are just good nature, and to have this happen, it's heartbreaking.
They absolutely did help me out, and I do appreciate them for everything. Unfortunately, there's a backstory to everything, of course,
I'll still continue to help people. It's our good nature, it's what we do as human beings.
but there's her side, his side, his side, and the truth. And what's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong, and not giving me my portion is wrong.
She's just a greedy little rat. Entitled.
At the end of the day, if they're keeping my money, isn't they're trying to be greedy?
Sarah and Judy.
It seemed like the defendants were really cared for the plaintiff, allowed her to move into the house, had a good relationship, didn't even charge her any rent until they decided that they had adult children that should start contributing to the home, and they included her in with their own children in the responsibilities to pay a nominal amount of rent. So it's always tough in situations like that when we see plaintiffs such as this one suing people who you and I look at as their saviors. They gave you a warm place to sleep, they fed you, you had a roof over your head, you know, all of these things that they lost everything too in the fire. I don't think that they were unreasonable. She went with them to the Airbnbs and the hotels afterwards. They didn't leave her out on the street. So I couldn't imagine suing somebody after all of that unfolded.
No, it's probably had to do with a very bad breakup of the relationship that they had with the son. But I think the bottom line lesson is if you have things that are valuable and if you are a renter, and even though she was paying a nominal amount of money, it's still rent.
Sure.
That renter's insurance, especially if you have very little, is very inexpensive. And you should have it.
Yeah.
And young people don't think about that.
Until it's too late, usually.
Right. You've rented once.
Once. And even I was ignorant to the fact that you should have renter's insurance. And I was lucky that nothing like this happened. But having now seen the different scenarios that can unfold, definitely in the future, I'll get renter's insurance anywhere I rent.
Smart.
Yeah.
Title: Judy Justice.
Have you been cheated? Go to judyjustice.tv.
She, out of nowhere, clocked her. Why?
She always used to hit people in schools.
When was the last time she hit you?
It was that day at school.
This is Judy Justice. Brittany Gonzalez is suing Sharina Charlton after Sharina's daughter assaulted her daughter and then damaged their property.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy.
Have a seat, everyone.
Case 3051, Gonzalez versus Charlton.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Will you young ladies stand up next to your parents, please?
Two girls rise.
Ms. Gonzalez, it is your claim that the defendant's daughter did two things: that she assaulted your daughter and that she damaged your front door.
That is correct.
Defendant says that neither is true. Neither one of you were present when the alleged assault occurred. You were allegedly present when the door was damaged.
Correct.
Okay, so tell me your first name.
Adriana.
Adriana, do you remember the date of this incident?
No.
Do you?
No.
Tell me your name.
Juliana.
Well, let's say April 18th of this year, which is when it occurred. Do you remember what time, Juliana?
No.
Morning or afternoon?
Oh, afternoon.
Were you playing outside your house?
Yes.
Were you playing with anyone?
No.
You were alone?
Yes.
Adriana, who were you with
was
on
with
April 18th?
I was with a couple friends,
What's a couple of friends? How many friends?
like 4 or 5.
4 or 5 is not a couple. 4 or 5 is a group. A couple means 2.
Probably like 3.
3 what?
3 boys.
And 2 girls?
Yeah, I think.
Adriana, did you know Juliana before April 18th?
Yes.
Do you go to school together?
Yes.
How long have you gone to school together?
For like 2 years.
Were you friends or
No.
no? Did you ever have any contact with her before?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yes.
Is a yes. What kind of contact?
Like we was inside a group chat together.
She was in a
text.
group chat, a text
Like
group chat.
text with other people in it.
Other than being in a group chat with her, did you ever have any conversations with her?
I don't think so. I don't remember because this was a long time
Okay.
ago.
So now I'm going to go to Juliana. Did you ever have any conversations with Adriana before the 18th other than in a group chat?
Yes.
Can you keep your voice up so I can hear? I'm old.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
We used to be friends, but we stopped being friends.
When?
I don't remember. I think.
Do you know why?
No.
Okay. So now I'd like you to tell me what happened, Juliana, on the 18th in the afternoon. What were you doing outside?
I was playing around on my hoverboard.
Hoverboard is that thing that you sort of balance yourself on?
Yes.
So you were playing on the hoverboard and?
And I saw Adriana coming up to me, and I thought something would happen, so I moved into the Ring camera so my mom would catch it.
Is that because you were concerned about something from your past with her? You used to be
Yes.
friends, but then you said you just weren't friends anymore.
Yes, she doesn't really like me, and we were only friends for a little bit, and then she stopped being friends with me.
Okay. Well, she was with a group of people. Did she come up to you alone or with the group?
With a group.
And what happened when she came up to you?
She was saying something about let me get 2 minutes, so I assumed it was about my hoverboard, and I was just shaking my head, and then she slapped me, and I went inside and told my mom about it.
Okay. Adriana, before you tell me your version of what happened, and I haven't seen this, but I want to tell you that there is a video of what happened that day. I don't know what's on it. I've never seen it, but they don't put up this screen unless there's a video. And Juliana tells me that she moved in front of the Ring camera because she was a little afraid and she wanted her mom to be able to see what was happening. So before you tell me your version of the events, I want to tell you that there is a very strong probability that the Ring camera picked up what happened.
Yes.
That day. Got it?
Yes, it did.
So now I want you to keep your voice up and tell me your version of what happened that day.
Okay, so me and my friends was walking because there is a man who gives out drinks and snacks. And we did not want to go back to my mom's house because it was a long walk.
Just a second. Get to what happened when you saw her.
Okay, so we had saw her, and then I had ran to her, and then I had said what she had said, yes.
Give me 2 minutes.
Yeah, give me 2 minutes. I think that, as she said, that she thought that it was about the hoverboard, and I don't know about the shaking the head or anything.
What, just a second. What did give me 2 minutes mean?
It means like, let me hit you, because she had hit me in school. She always used to hit me in school.
Just a second. You came up to her and said, give me 2 minutes, and then you hit her.
Yes.
Now, Miss Charlton,
Yes, ma'am.
I've read your answer.
Yes.
Is this the first time your daughter told that story to you? Just listen to me very carefully.
No, it's not the first time, no.
You mean your daughter told you that she assaulted the plaintiff that day when she came in and told you what happened?
She never came in and told me.
Okay, well, when you asked her,
when I asked
Miss
her,
Miss Charlton, I want you to be very clear. Did your daughter tell you the same story that she just told me?
Yes.
I want you to tell me verbatim what she told you.
Adriana
Because
said,
I read your answer.
Yes.
Your answer comes to me from evidently what she told you.
yes.
And I'm going to look at it again so that I'm sure. In your answer, you wrote, Juliana got aggressive and threatened Adriana, so Adriana was forced to defend herself. That's what you wrote, because that's what she originally told you, but that's not what she just told me.
No, that's not.
That's not what she just told me. What she just told me was she walked up to her, said, give me 2 minutes. I don't know what that means. And then she hit her.
Yes, that's what she told me.
So where did you get the fact that this young lady became aggressive? There was nothing aggressive about that.
Yeah, it was nothing aggressive about it.
So
I never
that
said
your answer is mistaken.
Yes.
So either you made up that statement because you signed your answer, or that's what your daughter told you when she came home.
No.
So you were mistaken when you made that up in your answer, the
Yes.
part about her defending herself.
Yes.
So you acknowledge that your daughter just hit her.
Yes.
Then that's so easy. Now I want to see the video.
Footage of Juliana riding a hoverboard alongside a house, then of Juliana surrounded by a group of 7 children. Adriana steps toward Juliana, then punches her in the face. The other children leave.
Let's play it again.
The footage is replayed. In the courtroom, Brittany kisses Juliana on the head.
Can you explain your actions, Adriana?
Caption, coming up.
She had come back to kick the door in.
Is that on the ring?
It is.
I'd like to see it.
Footage of Adriana approaching a front door. In the courtroom, Judy turns to Adriana.
What was that?
Adriana averts her eyes. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Brittany, Juliana, Sharina, and Adriana.
Brittany Gonzalez claims Sharina Charlton's daughter, Adriana, assaulted her daughter and damaged their door. Sharina is countersuing for online defamation.
What I just saw is you were with a group of people, you surrounded her, and you just walked up and slugged her. Explain that to me.
Okay, so Juliana, she always used to hit people in school. She used to be inappropriate in school. She used to hit people in school.
What did that have to do with what I just saw?
Yeah. So,
What does that have to do with that? I mean, if I believed you, which I don't, what does that have to do with this behavior of yours?
okay, so I was just really mad as soon as I saw Juliana on her hoverboard because she, as I said, she always used to hit people and be inappropriate in school to all of us. So,
Just a second. When was the last time she hit you? And be very careful. When was the last time she hit you?
It was that day at school.
Did you tell anybody about it?
I told a teacher, and I don't think that she talked to Juliana. All I know is just that I told a teacher.
Okay. When this whole incident started, did you tell your mother that Juliana had hit you in school and that you told the teacher? Careful. When this incident happened, did you tell your mother that Juliana had hit you in school and you told the teacher?
Yes. Well, not really. I just told my mom that I was about to fight this girl in school because she had hit me, because my mom had picked me up from this after-school program that's called Latchkey, and then we was like near something, and that I had told her that I was about to fight somebody in school, and I had told her that, and I just forgot what she said, what she told me after.
Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Repeat that to me, would you, that whole last soliloquy?
Yes, well, not really. I just told my mom I was about to fight this girl because she had hit me, because my mom picked me up after school program called Latchkey, and we was near something, and that I had told her I was about to fight somebody in school, and I told her that, and I just forgot what she said. She told me after.
Well, that's what I heard. I don't understand it, but I don't understand it. It's a lot of gibberish. Okay, now I want you to tell me what happened with the door.
Me? So she had come back afterwards. So you see Juliana come inside, and she was telling me to look at the camera because I was inside with my son, who's special needs at the time. We were getting ready to come out also to be with her while she was outside. She had come in and told me. I went outside to see if the hoverboard was still there. It was, so I retrieved it, brought it back in, and by that time, she had come back to kick the door in.
Is that on the ring?
It is.
I'd like to see it.
Footage of Adriana approaching a front door, then running away. In the courtroom, Judy turns to Adriana.
What was that?
Me kicking the door.
Why?
Because I was still mad. I was still mad at Juliana.
You understand that she needs a talking to?
Yes, she had a good talking to.
Did she?
Yes.
Good for you. Can I see photographs of the damage to the door, please?
Just a second.
Brittany flips through documents, then hands photos to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews images of a cracked wooden door frame.
So it's the wood part of the door.
It's the frame, yeah.
Did you get an estimate to fix it?
I did. I've several.
I'd like to have it.
Brittany produces a document.
If I may speak, Your Honor. So when it comes to the door situation, I did try to reach out to the defendant as towards paying and helping, rectify the situation.
Good.
But
that's good to hear. Actually, that's really good to hear.
yes, ma'am. But from the pictures that she sent to me in her own personal text, I was definitely questionable about this. So from the pictures that she sent to you, you can see that she said that this was a stainless steel door.
No, the wood, the damage she's showing me is really
Yes,
wood.
but from the text message that she sent to me when I asked about the door, she said it was a stainless steel door. Then she sent me the pictures, and if you see some of the pictures, you'll see this one picture at the bottom, right here.
Let me see which one you're looking at.
This one right here.
Can I see which one she's referencing, please, Kevin?
This one right here.
Kevin collects a photo from Sharina, then brings it to Judy.
So if you,
An image of a cracked door frame.
so looking at that one picture right there, you'll see that that was broken from a nail. Then you see that the wooden part that she's saying that Adriana broke was already from a broke prior, because it's added wood to the door. You see the...
I'm just talking about this wood.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That wood was added.
What difference does it make?
How can she break a stainless steel door?
This is wood.
Yes.
Is that what you claim she broke?
If I may, what she's trying to explain is that it is a steel door, and it's a custom-made door, so I can't just go to a store and say, hey, I'd like that door, can you please install it? It has to be built and manufactured to fit the space of my house. So for that to happen, everything has to come off. A whole new entryway has to be put in.
Are you telling me that her kicking the door caused this damage to the wood?
Correct. And the door does not shut properly, and we cannot deadbolt it.
That's what I'm saying, Your Honor. How can she be able to do that to a stainless
I
steel
don't know.
door?
Listen to me. I have no idea. I have no idea how she did it.
Right, that's
But
why
it's
I was...
clear that she went up to the door
Yes, ma'am.
and kicked the door
Yes, ma'am.
because she was mad. And
Yes.
if she's mad, that means She is not in control. She may be young in years, but she's almost as big as you are.
Yes.
Do you understand? Well, she has to control that temper.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah, and I know you, and I know that you get that.
Yes.
How many kids do you have?
3.
3. She the youngest, oldest?
She's the oldest.
Okay. Well, she's got to set an example for the younger ones. Does she do her chores?
Yes.
Great. She's got to be somehow responsible for what I'm going to do today.
Yes,
so if
ma'am,
you're very smart, you'll add to those chores list and make her pay you back for some of what I'm going to award her today.
Yes, ma'am, but she already got the money back from the door.
How did she do that?
She did a GoFundMe.
Did you?
I did.
Oh, okay. You did a GoFundMe page for the door.
Correct.
Could I see a photograph of that?
Brittany hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews a receipt from a GoFundMe page.
And that was because of the lack of her trying to rectify the situation through text.
Just a second. Okay, so far from the GoFundMe page, according to this, you've covered the cost of the door.
Correct.
Okay, so
it's not everybody else's responsibility, it's her responsibility.
Well, that's true. Well, that may be true. And if you had not decided to do that, then I would have awarded you the $1,800 it was going to be to fix the door. However, you're not out of pocket for the door. So
it's still her responsibility.
It's her mother's responsibility only technically because she's a minor. Do you understand?
Sure.
Yeah, but you got paid for the door, so we're not going to get paid twice.
Brittany nods. Caption coming up.
She said about me, saying that I was sitting at home smoking crack instead of paying attention to my daughter.
I did.
Well, you can't accuse her of committing a crime unless you have proof. Where's the proof that she was sitting back?
I don't have any.
Brittany shrugs. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Brittany, Juliana, Sharina, and Adriana.
Brittany Gonzalez has accused Sharina Charlton's daughter of assaulting her daughter and kicking their door. Sharina is countersuing, claiming Brittany defamed her online.
Your daughter really still has to understand that what she did, forget about the door. The door was just an extra piece of anger. She walked over and out of nowhere clocked her.
Yes.
That's outrageous. So you better give her a whole bunch of lessons in being good because I'm not buying her story.
Yes, ma'am, and I definitely, you know.
So I would say that she should work off the $500 that I'm awarding her for that sucker punch. Now, we have a counterclaim, and your counterclaim is that the plaintiff published this video on the internet, which you say defames your daughter.
Yes, it got over 12 million views without them, you know, hiding her face or anything. And then
she doesn't have to hide her face.
Well, Adriana being a minor.
She doesn't have to hide her face.
Okay.
She has no duty to hide her face in the law.
So she could just post Adriana whenever she felt like it?
She could post whatever she wants that's accurate.
Okay. What about the comments?
Her comments?
Her comments towards, yes.
It depends upon what she said. Does she talk about kicking the door? Does she talk about assault?
Yes, she said about me, saying that I was sitting at home smoking crack instead of paying attention to my daughter.
Oh, just a second. Oh,
yeah.
That I want to see.
Yes, ma'am.
I have those also.
Sharina hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
So it's not your daughter's defamation, it's yours?
Not, yes.
It's yours.
She also says that...
Shh, just a second.
Yes.
Did you write she's sitting back smoking crack?
I did.
Well, you can't accuse her of committing a crime unless you have proof. Where's the proof that she was sitting back?
I don't have any.
Well, that's defamation. That's defamation.
I never used her likeness or anything. She inserted herself into the comments with her name as the username, so everybody would know it was her. So that when she started talking, everybody who saw the video can know it's her.
I don't care. I'm telling you, you can't accuse somebody of committing a crime.
She also put saying that she has a gun, and if Adriana kept it up, then she was going to use it.
May I see that text? So far, you're absolutely right about this.
Sharina hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
No, she can tell you she has a gun.
Okay.
I also have other communications between us from the internet.
Wait, just a second. I don't want to see. Just tell me if there's something actionable there You tell me. I mean, I don't care if the two of you are fighting
Complaining
back
that
and
I keep posting on the internet, but I never come out of my house. So that right there proves that she knows that I never come outside, that I keep to myself.
Who
And
cares?
she just wants to harass me because I'm posting her child who did something uninvited on my property.
Yeah, that's okay.
Also, that she watches me from my porch every day.
Just get over it.
Okay.
Your reward was going to be $500 for your daughter, which I would have hoped that you would have put away for her because she endured being assaulted. You weren't injured. You didn't go to the doctor, correct? Right. It was nasty. It was just nasty. And I've dressed her down. I'm awarding her $500 on the defamation case, which means neither of you get anything. You got paid for the door plus some. But you can't accuse somebody without any proof whatsoever that they're drug users.
You're correct.
Well, now you pay for it. Judgment for the plaintiff, $500. Judgment on the counterclaim, $500. They cross each other out. You leave here with nothing, except hopefully some good lessons. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
The litigants gathered their documents. Outside the courtroom, Brittany then Sharina.
I think it was a fair decision.
Totally fine with it as long as it's all said and done and over with.
I know that they were having issues at school, regarding her appearance or what have you, but it shouldn't be like that. Everybody should get along.
I don't want nothing to happen to her.
I was just out enjoying my hoverboard. I just wanted to have some fun.
I'm just glad that this is done and over with.
Yeah, I think it's time to stay separate, and I hope the mother, disciplines her and makes it known that she shouldn't be doing those kind of things in the future.
Kids are kids. They should move on. Kids gonna fight every day, so.
Sarah.
I really hope that defendant, the mother, takes this as seriously as you insinuated to her that she should. Because I feel like if I came home to my parents, especially my father, and said, hey, some girl and I had a problem at school today, I'm gonna go fight her, okay? I would not even get 2 steps out of the room in which I was in before he would say, are you crazy? And teach me a good lesson before I even got out of the house.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine. And the mother was just standing there as the daughter was saying, yeah, I went home and I told my mom that I had a problem with a girl at school and that I was gonna go fight her. And the mother didn't have anything to say about that, nothing to say. And even in the end, I could hear her say, kids are kids, kids are kids. No, kids are not kids that go to other children's homes and slap them in their own driveway for no reason. So parents really need to get it together.
That's where it all starts. That's where you teach behavior.
Oh, yeah.
You teach behavior at home.
Mm-hmm.
If you're waiting for a school to teach anything other than reading, writing, and arithmetic, and want schools to teach morality and right from wrong, and then what you're doing is you're giving up your responsibility as a parent to other people. I mean, children learn from example, but they also look to their parents for guidance.
And to see
if
what's
that's
acceptable.
Yeah, and an 11-year-old, even if she's a big 11-year-old, should not think that it's acceptable behavior, and it's not kids being kids. That doesn't look like kids being kids. That was
aggressive
and a group
and
of people coming up to one youngster that is bullying.
Yeah.
And it really has to stop. But the plaintiff, if I hadn't heard that she started a GoFundMe page, and actually the door was $1,800, and she got
double almost.
Much
she was
more than
honest
that.
when she was asked about it, and she presented her own proof to say that she did.
But she didn't tell me up front. She gave me the bill first.
For it.
Right. But you can't post anything on the internet. You can't accuse
It was the clearest
someone.
case of defamation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Title, Judy Justice.
Have you been cheated? Go to judyjustice.tv.
You sold a dog and he didn't pay for it.
Yes, ma'am.
The dog was sick, and I've been asking them to come get the dog.
He said the dog had rabies.
It was just getting out of hand.
Where's the dog now?
I just gave the dog away.
The only sadness for me in this entire case is this puppy.
This is Judy Justice. Kiara Broomfield White is suing her husband's co-worker, Aaron Coker, for the cost of a Labradoodle.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case 3041, Bloomfield White versus Coker.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Ms. White, the thrust of your case is that you sold a dog to the defendant and he didn't pay for it.
Yes, ma'am.
Defendant has a couple of defenses, one of which was that the dog was sick.
Yes, ma'am.
He had lots of vet bills for the dog, and ultimately those vet bills far outweighed what he owed on the dog. And is it your wife?
No, ma'am.
Girlfriend, whoever
Friend,
lived,
yes.
your girlfriend with whom you live?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. They had enough of the dog, and he says he gave it away.
Well, before I did that, I asked them repeatedly, can they just come get the dog because we were put in the middle of a family triangle.
Let's start out with where you got the dog and what kind of dog it is.
Yeah, so I got the dog from my mom on August 21st.
Okay, that's what I read, August 21st of last year.
Yes.
How old was the dog when you got it from your mother?
She was 2 months old at the time.
Okay. Would you step up, please? Tell me your last name.
White.
Miss White, tell me when you bought this dog.
I believe it was June 28th, 29th.
And how much did you pay for the dog?
$800.
How long did you keep the dog? For just 2 months?
A little over a month, yes.
And then what happened to the dog?
I decided to sell the dog to my daughter at that time.
Why?
I was going through some medical issues, and I thought that I would be able to handle it, but I was completely wrong.
And you sold the dog to your daughter?
I did.
How much did you sell the dog for?
$900.
So you made a profit from your daughter?
No, ma'am. I also sold her a cage along with the dog that I paid $125 for.
So you sold her not only the dog, but the cage?
Yes.
For $900?
Yes.
And how much did your daughter pay you for the dog?
Nothing.
Zero, right? That's
Correct.
what I'm getting from here. And then, Miss White, you decided that you couldn't care for the dog.
Yes, ma'am.
What month?
It was October. I found out that I had conceived and the dog was not potty trained. The smell of it was just making me really sick. So I decided to go ahead and sell the dog myself. I posted a post on Facebook on October 17th.
You had the dog August, September, and October.
Correct.
When did you take the dog to the vet?
I did not.
The answer is you did not.
Never.
When did you take the dog to the vet?
Never.
When did you take the dog to the vet?
I never took the dog to the vet.
So now we have a dog that you acquired in June that had to be at least 6 weeks old, so it had to be born sometime late April or May.
It was born May 31st, 2022.
So you took the dog when it was 4 weeks old, a little early to take a puppy. Okay. And when you took the dog, did you get paperwork that told you what kind of shots the dog had had?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
I'd like to take a look at the paper.
Kiara's mother hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
I see the dog was dewormed on 2 occasions, but I don't see any shots.
Okay, so this is what she wrote down here. So this
I don't care what she wrote down there. You have a dog. The dog is a puppy. It needs shots. It needs shots before it can go around other dogs. You mean you had no clue as to this, and neither did you, Miss White? That the dog needed shots?
No, actually, when me and him made the agreement for him to come and purchase the dog, we had a phone call.
I don't care about a phone call. I'm talking about, you don't understand what I'm saying to you, madam. What I'm saying to you, your mother had a dog that was born sometime in May. She had the dog June, July. Between the two of you, August, right? You know that a dog, like a baby, has to get injections, shots for rabies, for distemper. Shots to make it healthy so that if it's around other dogs, it won't get sick. Neither you nor your mother took the dog to get put it down unless you have shots to show me. I'm not interested in anything other than your neglect of this dog for 6 months. That's all I'm interested in. Right now, that's what I'm interested in. Your neglect of this puppy for 6 months.
The dog was due for shots in September when her insurance became active.
Let me explain something to you. The dog wasn't due when her insurance became active. The dog was due when it's a puppy. It gets puppy shots. The fact that you didn't want to give the dog shots until it got insurance is not the dog's problem.
Exactly.
That's your problem. The puppy needed puppy shots. Within 6 months, you had the dog for 6 months between the two of you and didn't take care of it. And I don't understand that. What?
So I definitely do apologize. It was my first time having a puppy, and I didn't know that it needed a shot.
You note in the chart that the dog was dewormed. That's all that you gave me.
I didn't know what type of shots the dog needed, and
then you
that's
look
my ignorance.
Just a second. Then you look on the internet. You ask the breeder from whom you bought it. You ask people. You find out. You don't do nothing. It's a live animal. You're supposed to take care of it.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you agree. Because his defense is that when he got the dog got sick. Miss White, let me understand your complaint. You charged him $1,600 for a dog you didn't pay for, that you still owed the full price on. Am I reading this wrong?
No, you're not.
Don't help me. I don't need your help.
Yes, ma'am.
I need her help.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor. My agreement was that I was supposed to pay my mom the money out of the sale of the dog.
Just a second.
Was going
You
to
had
get,
the dog August, September, and October. You paid your mother nothing.
I got the dog August 21st. My mother and I made the agreement that I would not immediately pay her for the dog as we had just both moved to the area and I didn't have it. So she knew that I did not have the money.
I don't care what she knew.
The dog.
You didn't buy the dog from your mother to resell it, I assume.
No, originally I was going to keep the dog, but I decided not to keep the dog. But either way, our agreement was still for me to pay her.
I don't care. You sold him the dog for $1,600 and you didn't pay for it.
Aaron shakes his head. Caption coming up.
Did you give the dog to him?
Yes.
No payment?
None at all.
Why?
Well, because...
Not well. Well is not
okay,
an answer.
I'm sorry.
Well is not an answer. You understand
Yes, ma'am.
that I have problems with your veracity
Yes,
already.
Okay.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Kiera and Aaron.
Kiera Broomfield White claims her husband's co-worker, Aaron Coker, owes for the cost of a Labradoodle. Aaron says Kiera sold him a sick dog.
Okay, in addition to not paying for it, which, you know, that's between you and your mother, has something to do with the legality of your lawsuit because you can't sell something that you don't own, and you don't own it until you pay for it, right? My real problem with the two of you is you don't appear to be people without any common sense or brains. How do you not know that a puppy needs puppy shots before it can be involved with other dogs, walk around, be near other dogs, that it needs shots just like a baby does?
Your Honor, I was aware of the fact that the dog was supposed to go for shots in September.
No, it wasn't supposed to go in September,
I got
madam.
the dog August 21st from my mom. My mom told me the following month that the dog was going to need shots. And that was only like a week or so from the August when I got the dog.
So where did you get this idea that this puppy that you had didn't need shots before September? Your daughter a moment ago said September was the date because that's when your insurance kicked in.
September 1st, yes. I got the idea from Tina, the person that I actually purchased the dog from. She told me that the dog would be due for his first shots the last week of August. But the problem is that he told us the dog had rabies. And I researched that.
That it had
and
rabies
there is
and
no...
worms.
Sure.
Who told you the dog had rabies? Oh, I'm not talking about him.
That's why he didn't want to pay, because he said the dog had rabies.
Let me explain something to you. I don't know whether the dog had rabies or not. I know that you and your daughter were negligent. And your daughter has no claim because she didn't pay for the animal. You did. You're not the plaintiff. You paid $800. You sold it to your daughter for $900, and you sold it to him without shots for $1,600, of which he paid you $5.
No, ma'am. We had an agreement to pay the $5, but I wasn't giving up nothing.
Just a second. So you paid nothing?
Nothing. No, ma'am. The first payment wasn't due until I got paperwork and everything on the dog.
Okay. So you got the dog in October, October
Yes, ma'am.
17th.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see the vet bills after October 17th.
I have that, and I got her rabies shot certificate and things like that.
Aaron hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy.
This doesn't show me anything.
Yes, ma'am.
This shows me a surgery consult. I don't know.
No, he wanted to do surgery, yes, ma'am.
This isn't a vet bill. I've been doing this for 28 years. So if you're not going to be able to show me what I want, don't waste my time with the zh on the machine.
Okay.
If you don't have it, you don't have it.
I don't have it on me, right?
Then just say I don't have it.
No, ma'am, I don't.
Why don't you have the vet bill? We're not talking about forever ago, sir. All you have to do is say to the vet, I'm going to court, I need a copy of my bill.
That's my...
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now I want you to tell me, because I'm not crazy about either one of you. You, because you were both negligent with regard to this puppy. You had no right to get a puppy if the two of you weren't emotionally or financially able to take care of it. You should certainly understand that when you get a puppy, when you buy a puppy, did you pay for it, by the way?
I did.
Okay. And if you paid $800 for a puppy, you ask certain questions. I've had dogs in my life for 70 years. Every time I purchase a dog, the person from whom I purchase it gives me a piece of paper that says when the dog was born, who the parents were, when it got its first shot, when it's got its second shot, when it's due for its third shot. That's what you get. And it's hard for me to comprehend that neither one of you really either understood it or just figured, well, I had the dog for 6 weeks, then I'm going to sell it to my daughter. I don't know, she'll want it, she doesn't want it. She's going to sell it to somebody else for twice as much as I paid for it. Because she sold it to him, allegedly, for twice as much as you paid for it. Sick. Sick. Where's the dog now?
Well, I repeatedly asked them to come get the
I
gave the dog to a friend of mine.
Did you give the dog to him?
Yes.
No payment?
None at all.
Why?
Well, because...
Not well. Well is not an answer.
I'm sorry.
Well is not an answer. You understand
Yes, ma'am.
that I have problems with your veracity
Yes, ma'am.
already.
Okay. So I just gave the dog away after I repeatedly asked them if they want the dog back.
Just a second.
3 dogs are in the house with us, which is what they call Katana, which we call Lucky. And then I have a little small Chihuahua, a miniature Chihuahua, named Kimura. And then we have another dog that is called, what is her name? China. Yes, so we have 3 dogs in the house. Well, I had 3. Now it's 2.
When did you give the dog away?
It had to have been like December sometime.
Your Honor.
What?
The only reason I wasn't just trying to double charge him for the dog, I was trying to get the money back that I had put into the dog. My mom put that amount.
Just a second, what did you put into the dog?
I had to pay a lease agreement to have the dog.
Who cares? What is that?
I paid $500.
Who cares?
Well, when I was selling the dog, I was looking to get my compensation back, and that's what we agreed upon.
That has nothing to do with him or the dog.
We agreed upon that price for the dog.
He's not paying you anything.
Okay.
He's not paying you anything. He gave the dog away. Would you tell me the dog got a rabies shot on October 31st?
Yes, ma'am.
What you need an x-ray for?
Well, see, because she was throwing up and we were trying to figure out what was going on with the dog. She was sick. So we had to take her to an emergency clinic, which that I explained that to them.
Just a second. What emergency clinic?
It's called hospital.
You look it up, get a number. I'm going to ask you.
Yes, ma'am.
If Sarah called this vet hospital.
Yes, ma'am.
And you gave them authorization, the dog's name that you gave the dog was what?
Lucky.
Lucky.
Lucky. Yes, ma'am.
Gave the vet hospital your name, the dog's name, Lucky.
Yes, ma'am.
How much would they tell me that your vet bill was for Lucky?
It was $1,022 and some change.
Do me a favor. Call them. I want you to find out, Sarah, how much he paid and what was done to the dog. When you had the dog, Miss White, and you said the dog was making all over your house and you had to get rid of it because you couldn't stand the smell, didn't you think that the dog was sick?
No, she wasn't potty trained. She was still a puppy. The smell of it was a lot for me being pregnant. It would cause me to be sick and nauseous all the time. He called me and he was like, why do you want to get rid of the dog? What's wrong with the dog? I said, well, nothing's wrong with her. She's just really active. I'm pregnant. Everything was fine. I told him then I didn't take her for her shot that she needed in September. He was fine with that. We agreed on the price.
No, just a second. Just stop there. You didn't take her for her shots.
Yeah, in September, like my mom had told me I needed to. I did make him aware of that before he even came up there.
You do understand that if I find that he, in fact, spent over $800, which is what your mother paid for the dog, over $800 in vet bills for this dog, you get nothing. Do you understand?
Okay.
Because you sold him a sick dog.
Caption coming up.
First of all, you didn't pay any money for the dog.
I paid to have the dog in my home.
Who cares what you paid your landlord? I don't care what you paid. No court cares what you paid your landlord in order to have a dog. Nobody cares.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Kiara and Aaron.
Kiara Broomfield White is accusing her husband's co-worker, Aaron Coker, of refusing to pay for the Labradoodle he purchased. Aaron claims he had to pay for vet bills because the dog was already sick.
You do understand that if I find that he, in fact, spent over $800 in vet bills for this dog, you get nothing.
Okay, but Your Honor.
Her husband agreed that the dog maybe got sick because the dog was eating out of the cat bowl, drinking the cat water from a stray cat. That would make a dog sick right there.
Absolutely.
So after the husband told me that, I already know what it was.
Okay, Your Honor, as far as the shots, I understand that the dog was supposed to go and get its shots. And I did know that, and that's why I let him know that there was shots that I did not give the dog.
Doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter.
Well, I just want you to know that I made him aware of it, and he was fine with the fact that the dog needed shots and paying for the shots that the dog needed.
Paying for shots doesn't cost $1,000. doesn't cost $1,400. It only costs that kind of money if the dog is sick.
And she was sick. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, that's not what they informed us. I have 3 different messages, different things
all
that
I'm
they
telling
told
you
us.
is I'm going to see if I can get a response on the phone, if I can. If he paid anywhere near $800 to the vet to take care of a sick puppy, end of story.
Hi, this is Sarah Rose, and I'm a law clerk for Judge Judy Scheinlin with the show Judy Justice. We have a case in front of us right now regarding Aaron Coker and his dog Lucky, who came in, and I just needed a write-up of what he paid as well as what the dog received. Okay, so you have no record of him then? I do not. Okay, no problem. Thank you very much for your help.
The fact that you never had a dog before, that you didn't know, that you were pregnant, that you were nauseous, all is meaningless to the dog that was neglected. Meaningless. Now you can sit down.
Your Honor, I have a question.
I don't answer questions.
Okay, well...
I ask questions. Yes?
They had no record of Aaron Coker or Lucky.
This was less than a year ago. You can get a vet bill.
Yes, ma'am.
You knew you were coming to court.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Miss White, first of all, you had an animal that you hadn't paid for, so you had no right to sell it. I actually find that your conduct and your mother's, although not intentionally negligent with regard to this dog, was in fact negligent, and you sold him a dog that he got rid of after he took it to the vet, because I believe he probably took it to the vet because she was sick. Did you have a cat?
Yeah, there was a stray cat outside, and they would sleep next to each other outside in the backyard. The cat and the dog, like, they would just be out there taking a nap together when I went outside.
You do understand that puppies can get sick from other animals. Yes. Cats or dogs, they don't discriminate whether it's a cat or a dog that has an intestinal bug, and you have a cat outside that you feed outside.
Yes, Your Honor, I'm not denying that the dog needed its shots. I know that it's needed its shots, and I know that it could have contracted worms because worms is something it can get. I learned that after the fact.
Or other things.
The dog was completely healthy when I gave him the dog. He even sent me a picture of the dog playing with his other dog when he received the dog.
Maybe. Maybe, and maybe the dog got sick hanging around with his other dogs. That's possible.
Changed the story 3 different times. And I have all the messages of them changing their story every time for what was actually wrong, for why they wouldn't pay me the money for the dog.
First of all, you didn't pay any money for the dog.
I paid to have the dog in my home.
Who cares what you paid your landlord? I don't care what you paid. No court cares what you paid your landlord in order to have a dog. Nobody cares. You didn't pay for the dog. There is a certain amount of fairness that if your mother is owed money for this dog, and even though she was neglectful of this animal, he really had no right to turn around and give it away to somebody else. And I'm not so sure that after he got a 6-month-old dog well again with all the shots, that there was no money exchanged with regard to the dog. I'm not so sure, sir.
Well, I didn't charge anybody. I asked them numerous of times. They wouldn't come and get the dog. It was just getting out of hand.
Well, it was getting out of hand because, sir, you hadn't paid them any money. When were you supposed to make your first payment?
Like November 10th or 11th.
Okay, and you had the dog until December.
Yes, ma'am.
Why didn't you make your first payment?
Because the dog was sick, and I've been asking them to come get the dog.
First of all, you can't tell them to come and get the dog because you bought it. You bought it without a contract that said it had a health guarantee, a health warranty, whatever. That doesn't mean she's getting a penny because she didn't pay for the dog.
Okay.
You had an arrangement with her to pay her in November. You didn't do it.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, stand up a second.
Kiera's mother rises.
Did your daughter agree to pay you back after she got paid from him?
She did.
You see, my problem is I could dismiss your case and then your mother would have to come back because she's the actual owner of the dog because you didn't pay for the dog. And there is no way that you're getting twice as much as what you paid for the dog. But I don't think, Mr. Coker, that you're being honest. You certainly didn't bring me the proof. You certainly didn't bring me evidence that was either in your possession or capable of being in your possession. And I don't think that these people in Beaufort who spoke to her were lying to her when they said they don't have you in their system with a dog whose name is Lucky. Then you have to pay something for this dog that you just gave away, because I'm not so sure that you just gave it away. The only sadness for me in this entire case is that this poor puppy had, by the time it was 6 months old, 4 different owners, all of whom were neglectful. You, you, and I don't know about the person that you ultimately gave the dog to. I don't know whether that person is going to be using or abusing her because, according to you, he got her for free. And even those shelters that really have rescue animals, they charge something because they want people to have a certain financial investment in taking care of a pet before they give you a pet. So that you gave what was an expensive dog to this person for free is something that I don't buy, like I don't buy the vet bill. You get $100 for the dog. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $100. That's it. Next time, take better care of animals.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Aaron, then Kiera.
I mean, it was a fair judgment. I wish I had brought the right document with me, and I didn't, so.
He lied about having the bills, and he gets to get away with not paying it.
It was a family feud between the mother and the daughter, and now the mother is standing with the daughter now, so.
She was completely healthy, and he knows that.
She was sick, she was small.
He just didn't want to pay that much for a dog.
I'm happy she found a great home.
Judy.
That was one of the few cases in my career where I really had a tough time making a judgment.
Yeah.
Sarah.
And I don't necessarily disagree with your judgment in the end. I know it was meant to be sort of a wrist slap to the defendant, of course, for being, you know, a little untruthful in multiple parts of his story. But technically, the plaintiff was not the right plaintiff.
You know, you really can't at the last minute just substitute one plaintiff for another. They were just foolish and neglectful of this puppy and got it for all the wrong reasons. His story about this $1,400 vet bill was untruthful. And I knew it was untruthful because if you print up that piece of paper, the
vet logo would be right all over that.
Logo was on top, and it doesn't say range of treatment, proposed bill.
It looks that way when a defendant prepares their own statement
and makes a copy of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Title, Judy Justice.
Are you a victim of an assault? Go to judyjustice.tv.
He was having a fight with his girlfriend. You called the police.
I could hear the entire argument from my unit.
Mind your business.
She didn't say, don't put the knife in my face, don't point the gun at me. They were having a fight.
I have videos of him spitting on my door.
You started harassing him.
But why can't he leave me alone is my question.
He should. Then you should leave him alone.
I agree.
But you started it.
This is Judy Justice. Previously on Judy Justice.
Tell me, sir, when the problem first started with the defendant.
It started for me when a police officer showed up at my house.
When did you start to have a problem with him?
He was using marijuana outside, so he would be smoking outside and they'd be coming into my windows, and my entire unit smelled like marijuana.
After reporting his drug use to the police, comments of "go kill yourself" have been made through my security camera. Now I'll see your video.
You want to tell me to go kill myself in my camera? Call me fat? Every day.
Just a second. Who are those people?
The person with the flannel was my dad, who seconds prior
That was just
attacked outside in the parking lot.
I don't know about that or not. How many times had you called the police on him? Because you see, you hadn't had any trouble with him, which is what I'm having a problem wrapping my head around.
And now, the conclusion. Douglas Auerbach is suing his neighbor, Rachel Capron, for lost wages, false charges, attorney fees, and harassment.
Okay. When was your call to the police that he was smoking marijuana?
The first one was May 23rd of 22 is when they're noted in the police report, and I have a copy of that.
And then he cursed you. That's clear. That's in here. Have been made through my security camera. He watches me from his windows when I walk outside.
And me.
I see your mother shaking her head, yes.
Regarding the stalking, I hadn't seen my parents in a while, and they came over to go out to dinner together, and they showed up. I walked outside of my unit to get into my dad's car, and Mr. Auerbach came out and said to my dad, and that's when that last video that you saw was him saying, "Leave my daughter alone."
But the truth is, from his perspective, madam, you had been harassing him. Do you understand that? He had had no trouble living in his apartment from 2006. You move in and you don't like the fact that he's doing something that is not illegal.
It was
but is
illegal at the
smelling up
time.
your house. Well, the first time you called was in May of 2022. When did marijuana become legal in your state?
I believe it was November 8th of 23.
It was November 7th, 2023.
Medical became years before that. I have a medical card.
Well, everybody can get a medical card, but that means, but
doesn't
it means you
matter. I'm
have, but it
following the
means you
rules.
have one. Do you have,
Absolutely.
Did you ever show anyone your medical marijuana card?
No.
Would you like to show it to me?
Sure.
I'd like to see it.
Is it dated?
Douglas hands a card to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Yeah, he has a Ohio medical marijuana registry, and it was issued October 2nd, 2021. Would you like to see it? Thank you. Just for my information, Mr. Rabak, the defendant has already told me why she called the police the first time, which is about this fight that you had with your then girlfriend. How long had you been with this girlfriend?
3 or 4 years.
Did she live with you?
She did.
Had the police ever been called prior to the defendant moving in?
Never.
And I have to tell you, I'm not necessarily faulting you if you were legitimately concerned over the safety of someone, but it turned out that it was a fight and an overreaction. She was accusing him of doing certain things in a very loud way, and he was fighting with her. And so I'm not going to fault you for being proactive, but you have to understand from his perspective, you were a Badinsky. When you call the police and say, there's a woman and I'm fearful that something is happening to her, and it was a domestic dispute, a shouting match, you can understand from his perspective that was a bit of an overkill.
Right. It was just extremely loud, and the door was left wide open. I could hear the entire argument from my unit. And it went on for a long time.
What you may do is, if you're calling, you can report something as being loud, like playing loud music. They're screaming and we're hearing them. And it looks to me as if there are lots of units there. As far as you know, no one else called the police about this argument, just you. So you can understand from his perspective that that's a form of harassment. And you can understand that from his perspective, since he has a legal marijuana card that was issued a year before, and I'm not going to ask him why, because, you know, you can say you have an ingrown toenail and get a medical marijuana card. But he was not doing anything illegal. And then you say that there were people coming in and out of his unit. Do you have any video of that?
I do not.
No.
That was before I got the Ring camera, before the harassment.
What do you mean? So your concern was, and your reporting was, these are foreigners coming into his apartment, and the connotation was that he was a drug dealer.
I saw one.
That was the connotation, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Caption, coming up.
After you called the police at least those 2 times, you wrote to the HOA, and you're telling me that after all of that, you think he should be a pleasant neighbor?
Your Honor,
what is that?
Does she have to live like this?
No, she should probably move closer to you.
Rachel's mother lowers and shakes her head. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Douglas and Rachel.
Douglas Auerbach is suing his neighbor, Rachel Capron, for lost wages, false charges, attorney fees, and harassment. Rachel is countersuing, claiming Douglas harassed her, causing emotional distress.
And so what you're telling me, as soon as you got the Ring camera, the people stopped coming? He went out of business?
I didn't see people coming anymore. He hated the camera. And the one person that I saw show up at his house was knocking on his door. His old girlfriend had answered the door, and he was doing this, like, nodding out motion, and I was scared. I live, like you said, our doors are less than 20 feet apart from one another, and there's this guy outside his front door that is clearly impaired from something.
Well,
and needing him.
Mind your business.
Shh.
Mind you. If I have to go outside and let my dog outside, I should be able to do that without running into these foreign people that are coming to his home, or running into him, cussing me out, calling me every name under the sun, and
Madam,
spitting
you
on
have
my
to
door.
understand, I'm going to tell you, and your mother is nodding and agreeing with you, he did not precipitate this hostility. I know that you feel as if he did, but he didn't. He was having a fight with his girlfriend. You called the police. According to you, he had people coming to his house. You have no proof of that, but they were foreign people. They made you uncomfortable. You called the police. After you called the police at least those 2 times, you wrote to the HOA asking for them to intercede on your behalf, to tell him to move his cars out of the front of your building. You felt uncomfortable enough because evidently he's going to tell me that somebody from The pharmacy board came to his house as a result of complaints that you filed, and it could have cost him his license. It ultimately did not, but it could have. And you're telling me that after all of that, you think he should be a pleasant neighbor?
Your Honor,
What is that?
Does she have to live like this?
No, she should probably move closer to you. She should probably move closer to you. He's been living there well over a decade. He had no trouble. And he wasn't doing anything illegal, and he wasn't doing anything that necessitated police intervention, both of which your daughter sought. Do you understand? She didn't know he had a medical marijuana card. And I never fault people if they have a legitimate fear that somebody, man or woman, is being threatened. But what she heard was an argument.
I heard an argument, and I was fearful of what was happening.
Well, that's not his problem. That's your problem that you're fearful. What you actually told me that you heard was this woman with whom he had lived shouting at him that he was a predator and that he made up a false Facebook page. This is his domestic partner, that she evidently found out, according to the argument that you relayed, that he was doing something sub rosa that was sketchy. She didn't say, don't put the knife in my face, don't point the gun at me, stop chasing me. They were having a fight. So you have to understand, from his perspective, you started it, and he reacted by being crude. But despite the fact that your mother thinks you're in the right, you started harassing him for no legal reason. That's from his perspective. You had no legal reason to call the police on him the first 2 times, and I don't know how many times you called the police after that. So I think you're absolutely right. I think you should not have to be in a place where you feel uncomfortable walking out with your dog. He's not moving. He's lived there. And if you find his conduct reprehensible, as your mother does, and as actually I find being cursed at, through whether it's through a Ring camera or in person, I find that distasteful. It's not going to get any better. So you're a young woman. If you're truly unhappy, sell your apartment and move.
I shouldn't have to move because of...
Well, he's not going to have to move.
But why can't he leave me alone is my question.
Just a second. He should leave you alone, and you should leave him alone.
I agree.
But you started it.
I started
Do
it
you
because
understand?
I was scared. I live by myself, Your Honor.
No. The first time you called the police, you weren't scared. Well, you weren't scared that you smelled marijuana in your apartment, that the windows were open. You came home from work and your apartment smelled for marijuana. You weren't mad. You were annoyed. That started it. You didn't have any trouble with him before. And then the foreign people who were coming to his door, you know, that's a serious allegation. Serious. So, do I think he behaved like a gentleman? No. Do I think that you overreacted to situations that caused him to have to hire a lawyer? The answer is absolutely yes. And since it's not going to get better, since those things are in stone already, he's already been involved with the police, he's already been involved with the courts, he's already been involved with the board that governs his livelihood because of allegations that you made, and that's not going to go away. Because if he's accused and the underlying allegation with people, as you said, coming to his door and somebody bowing to him, which is the motion that you made, a bowing motion, and if the police contacted or somebody else contacted the governing board that governs his license, that all was precipitated because of you. And I'm not condoning the foul language, the talking into your Ring camera, all of that. But this bad blood exists. It's not going to go away. So why should you have to? You shouldn't have to. Why should he? Because it's not going to stop.
I've looked at moving recently.
Well, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Meanwhile, I don't find any of the allegations that you described for the first 2 reasons to take him to court had any validity. How much did the lawyer cost you?
$3,000, Your Honor.
I saw that in here, his bill for $3,000. I have to tell you, Mr. Raubach, I haven't really addressed you yet. And you can hear that I have a certain amount of sympathy for your position because the 2 things that she alleged that you did to cause her to call the police on 2 occasions before she filed a complaint against you, there was nothing illegal about your behavior.
Correct.
That's according to her. There was nothing illegal about your behavior. So I don't think that you should have to pay a lawyer. I think she should have to pay your lawyer. But I think that what I saw on the camera was a crude reaction. Crude.
And it's every day.
It was
every day.
It was precipitated by you.
Rachel flinches. Caption coming up.
Does she have to continue to be treated this way and continue to be prescribed anti-anxiety medication due to the severe harassment that this man causes her every single day?
I think she should move close to you.
Does he have to continue? Can you just tell him to stop?
Douglas shakes his head. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Douglas and Rachel.
Defendant Rachel Capron claims the plaintiff, Douglas Auerbach, has been harassing her for years. Douglas says he's lost thousands of dollars to defend himself from Rachel's false accusations.
Now, it was precipitated by your actions. I'm telling him it's a crude reaction, all of which was precipitated by you for him doing nothing that was illegal or required police intervention. If somebody called the police on me and I wasn't doing anything wrong, and as a result of that, I had to hire a lawyer to defend me, I would be royally annoyed. I wouldn't use that kind of language. I would probably do something more vengeful, but I would do it so that it couldn't be traced back to me. But you and your mother both have to understand, while his reaction was certainly ungentlemanly, crude, and probably continues to be, it was precipitated by your actions.
I have videos of him spitting on my door, hundreds of him spitting on my door. So when
That's
I
a
go
lie.
to walk, it's not a lie. I have it all on video right now.
Stop.
I can't tell you that I approve of his crude conduct. I don't. But the first two allegations that you made against him that required him to go to court, it looks like, on at least 7 or 8 occasions, and hire a lawyer.
I have a paper lawyer too.
I don't care. You started it. He had to go to court to defend himself against something that was not illegal. What do you want?
Can I just ask one question, Judge?
Sure. You have to stand up and ask me a question.
Rachel's mother rises.
My daughter has been changed for 2 years due to the harassment.
Do you understand what
I
I'm saying?
understand what you're saying.
So what's your question? Don't make a statement. What's your question?
Does she have to continue to be treated this way and continue to be prescribed anti-anxiety medication due to the severe harassment that this man causes her every single day?
I think she should move close to you.
Does he have to continue? Can you just tell him to stop?
Just, I can tell him to stop. It's not going to mean anything to him if I tell him to stop. And your daughter has had a hearing. Maybe she has to go back. If she has proof that she wants a protective order, that he's doing something illegal, let her refile, or let her do the smart thing, let her sell her apartment and move. That's what I would advise one of my children. He's not going to move, and as long as they live right opposite each other, there's going to be acrimony. I wouldn't live like that. I really wouldn't live like that, nor would I encourage one of my children to live like that. He's been living there since 2008 or 6. He's not moving. And what precipitated this whole hostility, he probably has a short fuse. He probably is relentless in getting even.
Yes.
You have to acknowledge that your daughter started the trouble.
I understand, but isn't
No,
there a
not
point?
do you understand. Do you understand and agree with it?
I agree, but can't it stop after 2 years?
Well, once the Hatfield and McCoys started to fight, they continued to fight until a lot of people were dead. And it seems to me life has enough challenges so that if you can extricate yourself from a major stressor, you do that. Okay, we're finished. Mr. Auerbach, I don't think that you should have had to pay for a lawyer for the first instance that brought you to court. Based upon what she tells me, you were engaged in no illegal conduct at the time she brought you to court, so she's going to pay for your lawyer. I don't have to entertain your counterclaim because that counterclaim is based on the same allegations that were already heard by another court, and the case was dismissed. If you have fresh allegations and want to continue this lunacy, and you have further proof, file for another protective order. Maybe this one will be granted. And I wouldn't live in a situation where I felt uncomfortable. I mean, he's a man, you're a woman, you're younger, you're about the same size. So it's not a David and Goliath situation, but one of you is going to move, and clearly he's not. He's been living there almost 20 years, right? Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Rachel, then Douglas.
I've been living in misery for 2 years. I called the police simply because I was concerned for my safety, and I guess I'll have to continue living with the current circumstances.
I was happy that the judge kind of tore into her and her mother a little bit. Not happy about some of my behavior towards her, being rude, but it's protected free speech, and you know, she's gonna have to deal with it.
Severe anxiety, panic attacks. I'm scared to go outside to let my dog out, scared to let the trash out, take the trash out. It's just anxiety in my own home that I pay for all the time.
Leave me alone. Don't talk to me, ignore me, get on with your life.
I feel like a prisoner in my own home. I'm scared to be in my house when I'm home.
People should just mind their own business.
It is an absolute living hell.
Judy and Sarah.
You know, Sarah, I actually feel sorry for the defendant. I wouldn't like to live that way. For whatever reason, she called the police the first time because it was loud. You know, I don't know whether I would call the police. I would close my door and turn up the music a little bit because there was nothing threatening in that conversation. If anything, she sounded like his ex-girlfriend was threatening him. And would I be annoyed if my next-door neighbor was smoking cigars and my apartment reeked from cigar smoke because it crept under? Would I be annoyed? I would be. But if it's not illegal, then it's not worth a phone call.
Yeah, I think people should think twice about the consequences and how long, like we've seen here, those consequences can go on for as a result of involving law enforcement in, you know, petty disputes.
Probably
really
he
be
has
sure when you make that call, you know, that it's have
not just
everyone's
annoying.
best interests and it's from a good place.
Right.
And I think it was from a good place with her, but I think she was a little nosy Nelly.
And certainly, what she says, she saw foreigners. Just, I don't know what that means.
People are allowed to have whoever they want come and go from their residence.
Your giant leap is that he's a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Well, those things would be irritating, certainly if they were not true.
Yeah.
And was he crude, rude in response? He was crude, rude in response.
But he didn't call the police on her for any
No,
of her
he
behavior
just-
in retaliation.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Anyway,
it's
I
just
feel sorry
unfortunate.
for her, and I really think she should move.
Yeah, I do
Because
too.
he's not moving.
Yep.
Title, Judy Justice.
Have you been cheated? Go to Judy.
This 25-year relationship ended badly.
Correct.
So he stayed in the apartment. Why didn't you pay any rent? Well, she was on the lease during that period of time. Well, there's no excuse for that. You live there with a child.
He's 28 years old.
Between two grown adult men, you're not paying rent.
This Jessica Schleicher is suing her ex-boyfriend, Sam Branch, for unpaid rent and the costs of an eviction.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge.
Hello, Kevin.
Case 3106, Shackler versus Branch.
Thank you. You're welcome. Schleicher.
Schleicher.
Okay. You and the defendant lived together for 25 years. Reason that you never married?
No.
Any reason?
Waiting for financial things to come together. And
That was quite a wait.
yeah,
In any event, this 25-year relationship ended badly, and it is your claim that the defendant stayed in an apartment that you had lived in together. I believe your name was the only name on the lease, but you lived there as a couple together. For how many years?
I lived there since I was 6 years old. My parents were actually the ones on the lease, and when my father passed away in 2007, we moved back in. We were out in our own apartment, moved in, took over the rent.
Because the rent was more reasonable and the apartment probably
Definitely.
better.
Yeah.
Okay. And the breakup was an acrimonious one. And it is your claim that the defendant stayed in the apartment with one of your children
yes, my son.
and that he didn't pay rent in the apartment for several months. And because your name is on the lease, the landlord brought a case against you for the unpaid rent.
Correct.
That's primarily what you're suing for.
Primarily.
Because the other part he's not responsible for. The part where you had to go find, and you went and found the more expensive apartment, well, one of you was going to find the more expensive apartment. Is this a rent-controlled or stabilized?
Yeah, the place that I was in, I was still grandfathered in at 2000.
Yeah, so it was a rent-stabilized, grandfathered in. You were there together, not you.
No,
the two
no.
of you for 25 years.
No, I was there with my family. He moved in with his son in 07, but I was there with my brother and my parents since I was
just
little.
a second. I thought you were together for 25 years.
We were, but I was in that condo for 39 years, since I was 6.
How long did the two of you live together?
Since 2007, for 16 years.
But you were in a relationship before that, so you lived together in that apartment for 16 years.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me the day that you moved out of the apartment when you had this argument.
May 30th was the first day that I left, and I stayed at my mom's house and in my car, and then went ahead and moved out and got my own place July 1st. So July 1st is when I removed all my belongings.
Had you stayed there at all in the month of June?
No.
Is that correct?
I think there might have been a week in June.
Well, if you think that she says no, she says no, and what you may be, she wasn't there. Your son was there?
Yes, he was.
All of June, you were there?
Yes, I was.
So you were there June. What about July? Were you there in July?
Yes, I was.
What about August?
Yes, I was.
What about September?
Yes, I was.
October?
Yes, I was.
When did you move out?
I moved out in December.
December what?
I believe it was around the 15th.
So you were there the month of December, because you don't do half months. You were there the month of December. When was the last month that you paid rent?
I was paid up until September 1st, so it was August.
So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 months rent that you didn't pay.
Right.
Why?
Well, when Jessica moved out, the property management came to me with 3 weeks to go in the month, saying that they were going to raise the rent $750.
Because you're no longer grandfathered in under her parents or grandparents or whoever lived there. So they were going to raise your rent $750.
Yes.
And they were going to raise it starting what date?
September 1st.
So you said, I'm not paying the increase.
No, that's not correct.
So you just didn't pay anything?
No.
Well, that's what I said. When was the last time you paid rent? You said September 1st. So I'm just curious. If he was going to raise your rent by $750, was going to make it $2,750, and you said, I'm not going to pay the increase.
No, I agreed to pay the increase. We filled out a new application.
Okay, great. So when did you start paying the increase?
We didn't pay the increase.
Okay, so you didn't pay rent, and I'm asking you why.
I had a heart attack.
You had a heart attack on what date?
August 20th.
When did you sign the new lease?
We didn't sign the new lease. We filled out an application. Yeah.
Okay. After your heart attack, on what date did you go back to work?
It was...
Careful, because it's very easy to verify.
3 weeks after.
So you went back to work sometime in September?
Yes.
And you didn't pay October, November, and December?
No.
Why?
Here's what the reason I did it. We filled out an application for a new lease. We agreed to pay the new rent. After this, he comes to me and says, now we need another $3,000 for a security deposit. In all this time, I have 3 weeks to come up with all this extra money on top of the regular rent. I couldn't afford it.
Okay, and then they evicted you, I assume.
They didn't evict me.
You just left.
My name isn't on the eviction.
Shh. Are you still in the apartment?
No.
So you left?
Yes.
In December, on December 15th. That's what you told me a moment ago.
Yes.
But you didn't pay any rent. October, November, and December. Any.
Yep.
Well, there's no excuse for that. You're living in an apartment, you're not paying rent. It's not reasonable for her to pay rent in her apartment, where she's now living, and your apartment. You find that reasonable?
No, I didn't think it was reasonable the way they... I wasn't given reasonable time to come up with the money.
Neither was she. You had a fight.
She chose to leave.
She chose to leave because it wasn't working anymore.
Right.
So you have two choices. Either you leave or she leaves. Without getting into all the bad stuff of what happened, which I don't think is absolutely necessary, this is just a question of morality and justice. So you each had your own obligations. She had to move and find a new place to live that was going to be more expensive than where you were. I assume she paid rent. You chose not to pay rent. How is that fair? How is that balanced, sir?
She didn't pay no rent.
No. She's going to show me proof that she was on the lease during that period of time. The landlord is going after her for the rent money. She's going to show that to me.
Jessica nods. Caption, coming up.
I'm the one that had to call the cops, and I have police reports. He's the one that was abusive.
There was no physicalness between the two of you.
There was yelling, spitting, throwing things, and just anything but putting physical hands on me.
And later today,
I'm asking you a question that this electrical wonking was her fault.
On her DUI, she was ordered to install an ignition interlock device. In that, you have to cut the wiring.
Unless you're a car mechanic, you're not going to testify as to what they have to do when they install a piece of equipment.
A woman averts her eyes. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jessica and Sam.
Jessica Schleicher is suing her ex-boyfriend, Sam Branch, for unpaid rent and the costs of an eviction.
Now, I'm going to ask you the question again. Does that sound fair and reasonable to you?
No, it didn't sound fair and reasonable that I wasn't given a suitable amount of time to come up with $5,000.
That's between you and the landlord. What does that have to do with her?
That don't have nothing to do with her.
But she,
I'm not
okay,
on the lease.
Can I see the notice that you got from the landlord?
Yes,
Jessica hands a document to Kevin.
there's the eviction against me with all the documents you need.
He brings it to Judy, who reviews it.
This is not a signed judgment.
That's not the judgment?
It's not signed.
I think that's the copy the lawyer gave me.
Kevin returns the document.
So yeah, I might not have the signed copy with me.
Well, you're supposed to bring a signed copy with you. Okay. There's no question the rent was due. There's no question that the eviction proceedings were for money, so that whatever monies are transferred will be transferred to the owner of the condo, because that's to whom it is owed, correct?
The property management company, yes, ma'am.
Okay. The second part of your lawsuit is that damages resulting from eviction and abuse. What is that about?
It was the difference of the rent from the condo to the new place because I was forced out.
Okay.
With police and everything else, I was out a lot of money.
That's not his problem. Somebody was going to be forced out of this apartment, either you or him.
But I'm the one that had to call the cops, and I have police reports, and he's the one that was abusive. I had no other choice but to leave my family's home.
Well, it was your family home. You lived like a family for 16 years. You weren't hospitalized as a result of this incident, correct?
No, ma'am.
You didn't see a doctor as a result of this incident, correct?
No.
You don't have any photographs to show me as a result of any injuries, correct?
No physical injuries, ma'am.
What you are complaining of is that he would talk to you incessantly, wouldn't let you sleep, right? I read it.
There was a lot more than that, ma'am.
There was no physicalness between the two of you that I read here.
There was yelling, spitting, throwing things, and picking up the bed that I was sitting on and slamming it down, and just anything but putting physical hands on me to avoid the police.
Well, he's not paying for your new apartment, and you're not going to pay for his new apartment. Anyway, the resolution of this case is easy: $6,063, and the check will be made payable to property management. Okay, thank you very much. We're done.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Sam, then Jessica.
I don't call it living for free, you know. If you're gonna treat me like I'm a tenant, then you gotta treat me like a tenant. You gotta give me a 30-day notice.
I do feel Sam owed me some money for everything that I had to spend leaving the place.
You gotta give me all the stuff that comes along with being a tenant, instead of just skipping away.
I wouldn't have had to leave if it wasn't for his abuse, so.
Better to part ways.
Time to take care of me.
Sarah and Judy.
You were right when you said you lived together for 16 years. She kept referencing it as her family home, which I understand the history, and she lived there since she was a child. But when you live there with your partner for 16 years, that becomes your shared family home. Like you said, someone was going to have to leave, and someone was going to have to pay more rent. So, you know, at the end of the day, someone was going to have to leave.
Right. And the landlord, the person who is supposed to get the money, will get the money because they're the people who are out the rent.
Yeah.
And he had an obligation to pay rent. He just knew he wasn't responsible for it legally, and they couldn't go after him for it, so he just didn't pay it. Well, can't do that. It's not right.
Case number 3107, Murphy versus Beard. All parties, please come forward.
Jennifer Murphy is suing her car renter, Lindsay Beard, for missed payments and damage to her vehicle.
Miss Murphy, several years ago, you were planning to go out of the country. When were you planning to go out of the country?
December 2018.
And you had a car at the time, a car that you were making payments on?
Yes.
That had a loan on it?
Yes.
And what were the loan payments every month?
There were $375.68.
And what year car was it?
It's a 2013.
So it's 11 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2018, you made an arrangement with the defendant, who you knew how?
My sister's client.
She needed a car. You were introduced. You made an arrangement with her in 2018 to rent your car that you both acknowledged for $375.68 a month?
$374.68, and it was in 2020.
It was in 2020?
Yeah, the date was January 5th, 2020.
Is that the date you made the arrangement?
Yes.
And is there a contract for the
There
lease
is,
of this
right
car?
here.
I'd like to take a look at it, please.
Here you go. Oh, sorry.
Lindsay hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Okay, so let's read the terms of this agreement. First one is payment of $374.68 via Zelle. Now, with regard to that provision of the lease agreement, you returned the car on what date?
I picked it up on October 24th.
2023. So she had the car 2.5 years.
More like 3.5 years.
And in those 3.5 years, you were out of the country.
Yes.
Part of your claim here is that she failed to make several payments. She says she has all the payments. Have you gone over the payments with each other so that you can check your accounts?
No, I mean, I have my printed Zelle from my bank, and she has a spreadsheet that she was filling out each month that she received a payment.
You have that?
I do, yes.
Yes, and you acknowledge that?
That I had sent her the spreadsheet each month. I also have the emails of the Zelle payments, and I am missing the 8 payments from her, so I'm curious. She never explained that.
I'm not curious. You're going to go outside with my clerk, and you're going to go through these. You don't expect me to go through 3.5 years of car payments, do you? Now, if you don't want to waste my time, we can acknowledge that they were either paid or we can move on to the next action. What's your pleasure?
I don't believe they were paid.
Okay. Sarah, go deal with them. Math is not my strong suit, and this kind of nonsense is not worth my time. Go figure out if there were any missed payments that they can prove, will you please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Judy leaves. Caption coming up.
She is correct that you had to have a machine installed.
I had to have the interlock, yes.
Okay, that if you breathe into something, if your breath smelled from alcohol, the engine wouldn't start.
Yes.
How long was that in the car?
After getting arrested. So about a month later after me getting the car, I had to have the installation put in.
Jennifer rolls her eyes. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jennifer and Lindsay.
Jennifer Murphy claims defendant Lindsay Beard rented her car for years and damaged the vehicle.
Sarah?
Okay, so there was a total of 11 missed payments that the defendant had no proof that she had paid. However, there were months that the plaintiff admitted where she paid more or double to make up for missing months, which she credited in the spreadsheet that I looked at. So there were a total of 8 missed payments, not including those, makeup payments that she had made.
Did you total that?
I did, totaling to $2,997.44.
Thank you. Okay, and I'm reading the lease, so that was the first thing. So on that, you owe $29.97. Lessee will not drive more than 2,000 miles per month. There's no problem indicated in your petition about that, so that she's complied with the terms of this lease. We'll keep up with all regular maintenance of the vehicle. You have any proof that she didn't do that?
Well, beside my car, when I got it back, it was not in a very good condition.
You left it 3.5 years. The car's 11 years old. She had to have changed the oil periodically if she had it 3.5 years. The fact that your car is now older and it was driven by somebody else 3.5 years, there's a certain amount of wear and tear on a car, and things break down unless you have a mechanic who's going to tell me that you did something to the car, which are you a mechanic?
No.
No.
I also have all the records of me going and doing
Not
that.
necessary. It's her burden of proof.
Absolutely.
It's good that you have the paperwork as a defense that you took care of the car. Will carry full insurance coverage. Did you do that? There's no allegation that you did not. Will not allow other persons to drive the car. There's not an allegation in here that she did and let other people use the car. Violation of this cause for immediate termination, and that's it. So far, I have $2,997. Now, she returned the car because she came back to the country. Okay, on what date did she return the car?
I picked it up on October 24th, 2023.
And where did you go with the car?
Immediately, I went back to my
house. To your residence?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Did you take the car out again on October 24th?
No.
When was the next time you took it someplace?
On October 26th, I took it to the dealership.
Why?
To have it inspected.
Just a second.
Okay.
My question is, why did you take it to the dealership? Because if you drove it home and there was something wrong with it, you would have taken it immediately to the dealership if you found something wrong with it. You didn't take it to the dealership the 24th. You didn't take it to the dealership on the 25th. Why did you take it on the 26th? Just to check it out?
No, I did notice things immediately wrong with it.
What?
For one, the AC wasn't working, the car wasn't locking.
What does that mean, the car wasn't locking?
When I used the fob, it wouldn't lock, it was doing nothing.
It was doing nothing, but you were driving with it. It was just that electrical thing that wouldn't open and close. Did you put a new battery in the fob?
No.
Oh, no. That's the first thing I do. When it doesn't open, it doesn't close, these things go, you take it in, costs $5, you put in a new battery and you close it and then it locks. It's not as if the car didn't work. Okay, what else?
The door sensors weren't working as well.
I don't know what that means, the door sensors.
It looks like my car door is always open on the electrical component. So like there's just a lot of weird electrical things going on with it.
You have any proof to demonstrate to me that she caused any of this problem?
So I found out she had a DUI while she was using my car, and she lied to my sister about it, telling her that I knew about it, that she had told me about it, but I had no idea.
But she didn't keep it a secret. She told your sister.
She did tell my sister.
And that's how you met her?
Yes.
So if she told your sister, she wasn't keeping it a secret from you?
Well, she didn't tell me either.
I don't care. But she wasn't keeping it a secret. She told the person who actually brought the deal together.
Well, she lied to my sister also.
Just a second.
Okay.
I'm asking you a question. Proof that this electrical wonking was her fault.
Well, I had seen in the court documents on her DUI that she was ordered to install an IID, an ignition interlock device, which she did on my vehicle, had it installed and uninstalled. And in that, you have to cut the wiring to...
I don't know if you have to... What kind of work do you do?
I'm a yoga instructor.
Well, unless you're a car mechanic, you're not going to testify as to what they have to do when they install a piece of equipment. By the way, just tell me what month and year you had a DUI.
It was February or March of 2020.
But you had the car for 3 years after that.
I did, yes.
Listen to me. 3 years after that. And she is correct that you had to have a machine installed.
I had to have the interlock, yes.
Okay. That if you breathe into something, if your breath smelled from alcohol, the engine wouldn't start.
Yes, it's connected to the battery.
Okay. And you did have that installed. How long was that in the car?
Almost the entire time I had the car.
After
getting arrested. So about a month later after me getting the car, I had to have the installation put in.
Okay. And when did you have it taken out?
Actually, 3 or 4 days before she picked the car up.
Okay. And who took it out for you?
The same company that put it in.
Okay, fine. I'm just telling you that, Miss Murphy, because if you think that you can prove a case of negligence against a company, it's not her. She neither put it in or took it out. Got it? She owes you $2,997. And she owes you that for the missed payments that she can't prove she made, that you say on your spreadsheet she missed, and that Sarah confirmed. Anything else? No. Good. Thank you very much. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Jennifer and her sister, then Lindsay.
Currently, my car's dead. It's not operating because of the electrical damage.
There is no damage to the car.
I do think it's the wiring, and I know it hooks up to the starter because we've been researching it. She's saying the battery, but it's the starter. And it did render it inoperable.
I mean, I watched the guy do it. They go in through the panel, they connect it to the battery, and it's done in 30 minutes.
My car is my car. No one's gonna be borrowing it.
I'm just glad it's done.
Sarah and Judy.
Really trying to keep me on my toes there. I know math is not your strong suit, but you also passed that gene down to me, so I find it interesting that you just farm out all the math skills over here.
Well, first of all, you're the clerk. I'm the judge.
Yeah, I don't mind doing it. I'll do it all day long, all day long.
And you figured it out.
I did. No,
it would have probably taken me a lot longer.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, you don't have it here, you don't have it. It doesn't exist, so made it easy.
Title: Judy Justice.
Are you having a family dispute? Go to judyjustice.tv.
It is your claim that the property was a mess.
Yes.
I don't think it needed to be cleaned. It had been cleaned.
There was dirt on the floor, there was bugs on the floor, there's black mold.
I paid to have it cleaned.
The refrigerator is disgusting. The stove is disgusting. It's disgusting.
It was clean.
I'm telling you that the place was disgusting.
This is Judy Justice. Adriana Alonzio and Tanner Krugel are suing their former landlord, Faith Schmidt, for a security deposit and emotional distress.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Case number 3121, Alonzio Krugel versus Schmidt.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tell me your last name.
Krugel.
This is your...
Fiance.
The two of you were moving from one state to another.
Correct.
You were moving with what other family members?
Our 4 children.
And you were moving from what state to what state?
Wisconsin to Minnesota.
Whose mother lives in Minnesota?
Mine does.
That's your mom?
Yes.
So you needed a place to live?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry.
Your mother found a place, or did you?
I found the place initially.
You found the place?
Yes.
And your mother went to do a walkthrough to see if it was suitable for you and your 4 children?
Correct.
And found the defendants. Is it a home?
It's a single-family home.
That you own. When did you purchase it?
I believe I purchased it a month before I showed it to them. So no one had lived in it yet.
And when your mom looked at the place, it needed a good cleanup. And you acknowledged that, Ms. Schmidt, that it needed a good cleanup.
I do not.
Well, you sort of do in your answer, so that I want you to rethink what you just said to me. When you showed it to Mr. Krugel's mother, it needed a cleanup. You have to remember what you wrote in your answer. So if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
I don't think it needed to be cleaned. It had been cleaned.
I have it in your answer, but I'll get to it in a minute. So you loaded your kids. I assume you took a U-Haul or something of the like, and you agreed to rent the property.
Yes.
And you sent a month's security and a month's rent?
Yes.
In total, how much money did you send?
$3,000.
Which you received and deposited.
Correct.
What date did you send the money?
October 30th. I have the receipts for that as well.
Yeah, she acknowledges she took it. Now, up until that time, you had not signed a lease.
Correct.
And you acknowledge that. They had not signed the lease. When you got there, it is your claim that the property was a mess.
Yes.
And you actually did not move into the property and want your security and your rent back.
Correct.
That's what the case is about. And I'm not exactly sure of what your defense is, but you'll tell me. Is your defense that they had no lease, or that they had a lease that they broke? What is your defense?
So we had an entire interaction. They actually did move into the property. They moved their belongings into the property.
Did you change the locks on the doors?
I did not.
At any time?
No. They're still the same locks that they were before.
You arrived on the property on what date?
November 13th.
Still no lease?
Correct. She mailed us the lease, and then we didn't have enough time to sign it and mail it back to her. And so we have in text message, she's saying we can just bring it with us, but we didn't want to sign it till we...
Got it. So you got there on the 13th. I'd like you to describe what it looked like on the 13th.
Well, it was dark, so it was really hard to see anything. When we pulled up, the guys pulled the horse trailer in the back. So the guys were unloading that while Linda, myself, and my brother and the children started walking through the home, seeing where we were going to put everything, and that's when we started noticing, you know, it was just disgusting.
Well, tell me.
There's dirt on the floor, there was bugs on the floor, there's black mold, there was water damage in the walls that she said...
Did you take any photographs?
I have a lot of photographs.
May I see them, please?
Yes.
And this was the day you were moving in your things?
Correct.
Or the next day?
The day we were starting to move in.
Adriana hands photos to Kevin.
And then once we started to notice...
Just a second.
He brings them to Judy, who reviews them. They depict water damage on the walls and floor.
Some of these I'll ask you to address, some I won't. There's a lot of water damage. Kevin, would you show these photographs to Ms. Schmidt, please?
Kevin brings the photos to Faith, who reviews them.
I'll take them back now. Ms. Schmidt, from whom did you purchase this house?
Edina Realty.
Was it a person or was the house foreclosed?
It was a person.
And how much did you pay for it?
I don't recall the exact price.
Give me a ballpark figure.
I would prefer not to disclose.
I don't care what you prefer. Give me a figure.
Around $100,000.
What do you mean around $100,000? What kind of work do you do?
I am a landlord. I'm a business owner. I have rental properties.
Okay, so that's what you do as a living?
Yes, that is
okay.
A recent business that I've started.
Great. If it's a recent business, how many homes do you have?
I have 4.
Is this the last one that you purchased?
Yes.
How much did you pay for it?
I believe it was 100,000 something. It was between 100,000 and 110,000.
Yes.
I have a picture from the Zillow ad that tells the date that she purchased the home and how much she purchased it for. I also have a text message of her acknowledging the fact that her dad and the kids that cleaned the house said it was not clean enough
Just a
the day
second.
before.
I'm not there yet.
Okay, sorry.
Well, the estimate for the house is $94,000. It's sold for $94,000. Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay. Now, in your answer to their request, which is their request for return of their deposit, although they're asking for a lot of other stuff, but it's for the return of their deposit, you say, since I had not even received the signed lease back yet, they were trespassing. That's what you wrote in your answer.
So
Linda, I had the unit cleaned that same day. The next night on November 13th, I met them as well as the other adults. Who cleaned the unit the same day on the 13th?
So I paid one of my employees to clean the unit prior. I reached out after Linda entered the property.
No. Pay careful attention to my question.
I'm giving you a backstory.
I don't want a backstory.
Caption, coming up.
I want you to understand this. These 2 people traveled from one state to another with 4 children. They wanted a place to live. They needed a place to live.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Tanner, Adriana, and Faith.
Adriana Alonzio and Tanner Krugel claim their former landlord, Faith Schmidt, refuses to return their security deposit. Faith is countersuing for loss of income and harassment.
Now, you said the house was clean. Clearly, this is not a recently cleaned house.
I paid to have it cleaned, and then because Linda had complained,
you would acknowledge that these pictures that I showed you. Just a second, you don't talk over me. You do acknowledge that this house, as the photographs indicate, because they were only there for a day, the dead bugs, the black mold do not indicate a recently clean property.
Yes, ma'am. May I tell you more?
First, I'm asking you a question. You looked at the photographs, and you have to acknowledge that these photographs do not reflect a recently clean property ready for people to move into.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when they got there, the place was not clean. When they arrived there with their 4 children, the place...
It was clean. These pictures were not taken by them. They were taken by Linda. Linda entered the premises before they were even there. She was not supposed to be there.
Just a second.
On the 12th, they did not arrive until the 13th. Linda took these photos. Linda reached out to me. Linda said the property was not clean. I have text messages that I hired someone to go over there and clean it afterwards, which he cleaned the stove, the air conditioner, the freezer. And
show me. Okay, so now what you're saying is that the mother took these photographs.
Correct.
And after she called you and said that the place is not clean.
While I was working, I was doing something else. I immediately sent someone over there before I had any communication with Tanner or Adriana.
Just a second. Fine. I want you to understand this. These 2 people traveled from one state to another with 4 children, ranging in age from
8 to, at the time, 14 months.
They wanted a place to live. They needed a place to live. If what you're telling me is that this is not a fair and accurate representation of what the place looked like when they got there.
It did not look like that when Tanner and Adriana arrived to the premises. It looked like that when Linda got there, which I was notified of, and immediately sent someone over to clean the premises.
Who?
I hired a kid. His name was Alex.
Is that you?
No.
Just a second. You just raised your hand. She said, I immediately sent somebody over there. I said, is that you? You raised your hand.
I also sent my dad over to ensure that the employee, he had done a good job cleaning. While I was doing something else, he also sent me videos of him cleaning out the freezer.
Just a second. I would like to see whatever photographs you have of what the place looked like before they got there. Show me. You already have a complaint, and you're a landlord. You have a complaint that the place was disgusting.
Correct.
And you have 1 day to clean it all up.
Yep.
Not yep, that's a yes.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't bring me the person who cleaned it. I assume you have photographs now that you know that there's a complaint. I assume you have photographs of what the place looked like when they arrived. That means no.
I didn't take photographs after, no.
Well, that's too bad.
I do have an inspection, though, a past inspection that says there is no mold in the home, and I've not made any alterations.
Just a second. Do you have that inspection for me to see?
Yes, ma'am.
After, on or about the 13th of November?
No.
No. Okay. Ms. Schmidt, this is not a difficult case. Either they had a lease or they didn't. In your answer, you said since they didn't have a lease, they were in fact trespassing.
They had no intention to sign the lease.
Just a second. No, you are incorrect, because that's not common sense. Common sense would suggest that people who are traveling across state borders with 4 small children need a place to live. They sent mother-in-law to look for a place to live.
And she said it was very nice.
Just a second. They sent her, I don't know what assurances they had with regard to cleaning it out. I don't know what her level of cleanliness is, but I know I wouldn't move into this place after having paid somebody $3,000. This place is disgusting. The refrigerator is disgusting. The stove is disgusting. The bugs are disgusting. The wood is disgusting. It's disgusting. Now, you want to be a slum landlord. That's your problem. But either they have a lease or they don't have a lease. If they don't have a lease, then they get their money back because they didn't move in to live. That's not difficult, sir, is it?
No, but I'd like to say something.
Sure, stand up and say whatever you like and uncross your arms when you do it.
Okay. When she called and said that Linda had called to complain about the place, so I did go up there and I met with Linda.
Linda is the mother.
Correct.
And?
Correct. And we talked and we went over what the problems were. And so, as to my knowledge, we agreed on the fix, and I seen to it that we had a couple people come over and clean.
Before or after lunch, sir? Did you have it cleaned with a couple of people before or after you and a couple of people had lunch?
I don't know what lunch has to do with it. I don't know nothing about
I know what lunch has to do with it. So you knew there was a problem and you went to the house on the 12th, according to you. They were due there on the 13th and the place was disgusting. You would agree with that?
Yeah, I don't agree with the mold because the city of Spring Valley has inspectors that come around and inspect for mold.
I'm telling you that the place was disgusting. It was not a place where I moved into dozens of properties in my life, both inexpensive and expensive. The inexpensive ones, when I moved in, were clean.
Sure.
That's the way when I moved out of a property, I left it. If your daughter wants to be in business for herself, then she's got to learn how to be in business a good way.
Sure.
Okay? You have to acknowledge she knew that these people were coming across state lines. They were coming across with little children because Linda let you know that.
I don't know anything about that.
You don't know who was moving in?
No, it's not.
Did you know who was moving in, Ms. Schmidt?
I didn't meet them personally. I met with Linda.
That's not what I asked you. Did Linda tell you that her son, her son's partner, and 4 children were moving into the house?
Yes.
Of course. This is not the way you expect a house to be. Common sense would indicate that you would then, after your father and his crew cleaned it, you would take photographs to show that it was not in this condition anymore.
Caption coming up.
What did they complain about in the kitchen?
They complained about the stove.
And what about the stove?
The inside of the stove.
That it was filthy?
Correct.
And did you see that the inside of the stove was filthy?
Not on that day. But
No.
Faith bristles. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Tanner, Adriana, and Faith.
Adriana Alonzio and Tanner Krugel are accusing their former landlord, Faith Schmitz, of renting them an uninhabitable property. Faith is countersuing, claiming the couple owes her for loss of income.
Now, I'm coming back to you. Either they have a lease or they don't have a lease.
We had a verbal agreement.
No, you have to have a lease in order to keep their security deposit. Did you have a lease? You said they had no lease, they were trespassing because you told them to get out.
So then they were trespassing.
Yes,
they were on my property without my permission.
Then they get their money back. What is so hard about that? Either they have a lease or they don't have a lease. You can't say they're trespassing on your property because at one point, part of the thing that they're suing about is because you went into the house and you came out with a handgun. Is that right?
Correct.
Correct. And because you felt as if you needed a handgun to defuse the situation that was developing on the 13th. Whatever it was, they left. They get their security deposit back and their month's rent. And if you want to be a big girl in a big girl's business, you got to do the right thing. This is not the right thing. Okay. You want to tell me, Ms. Schmidt, why you felt it necessary? Because I'm going to get rid of that part of your claim very quickly. Why you felt it necessary to come out with a gun on the 13th?
So when I went in there in an attempt to resolve the issues that they were complaining about the night of the 13th, I brought the walkthrough paperwork and we were going to fill out a walkthrough with everything that needed to be addressed. Instead of accomplishing that, we were in...
Okay, so what room did you go into first?
I walked through the back door off the porch into the kitchen.
What did they complain about in the kitchen?
They complained about the cleaning.
What specifically about the cleaning?
They complained about the dirt behind the fridge. They complained about the state of the fridge.
What was the state of the fridge?
There were stains in the back of the fridge that were not coming off with any cleaning.
What else?
They complained about the stove.
And what about the stove?
The inside of the stove.
That it was filthy?
Correct.
Okay. And did you see that the inside of the stove was filthy?
Not on that day.
No. You know, I don't believe...
On the 13th, it was not filthy. It was cleaned by Alex. I had cleaned. Those were... the stove and the fridge was very important to me that he cleaned those. We also talked about getting them new appliances because they weren't satisfactory. I was going above and beyond to appease them, and I told them that I would look for new appliances, that I wouldn't be able to provide them overnight, but that I would be looking for them and provide them with new appliances.
She has that in text.
That she was going to provide new appliances?
Yes.
Because the ones that were existing were unsatisfactory. Yeah. They get their security deposit back, $3,000. Your counterclaim is ludicrous. Lost income, damages due to false claims, rent, utilities, and harassment. How did they harass you?
She has reported my Facebook account, so I no longer can advertise. So I've had to do alternative routes of advertising. Before, it never cost me anything to advertise. Now I have to pay for advertising through the newspaper. I bought a rental sign. I've done things.
What was the harassment? She complained about what happened to her family when they came to this property that they were renting.
Harassment wasn't the word that I would use.
Well, what would you use?
She's dragging my name through the mud. She's going to the local bars. I have heard from
Just a second. You can't tell me rumors. If you have somebody who can testify that she said something about what?
No. My dad can testify because his employees are telling him.
He can't tell me what his employee. Listen to me. He can't tell me what his employees are telling him. He can tell me if they said something to him. So what? Did you finally find a place to live?
No, we have not.
Since November?
Correct.
Where are you staying?
Right now, we're staying at my parents' house. We had to move back to Wisconsin, so we are on air mattresses in my parents' family room.
Why were you moving?
To be closer to his family.
Anybody have a job?
He had a job, a potential job lined up.
In Minnesota?
Correct, yes.
What kind of work?
Property maintenance management.
What are you doing now?
Nothing right now. I started a new job in Milwaukee on Monday.
He had to turn down a really good job offer in Minnesota because we didn't have a
That's all. I just asked him what he was doing now, not woulda, shoulda, coulda. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. Counterclaim, whatever it is for, I don't even know, is dismissed. Thank you very much. We're finished.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Faith, then Tanner, and Adriana.
I did offer them 3/4 of their deposit back.
We wanted it all back. We didn't live there.
I put forth my best effort to find them new appliances, to hire someone to do cleaning. I believe I went above and beyond.
We had a verbal agreement that the house was going to be in livable condition, and as you can tell by the pictures, it was not livable.
Differently in the future, I think instead of hiring someone to clean, I'm probably going to clean myself, and I'm going to take photo evidence and videos of everything.
She knew a month ahead of time that we were coming, so it's not like it was sprung onto her the day before like she's trying to claim.
I'm not going to go out of my way to give them access to the property before I'm there. I'm going to do the walkthrough and ensure the lease is signed before they have access to the property to avoid this.
Being a landlord is not the job for her.
Sarah and Judy.
You know, I remember moving in somewhere when I was a junior in college, and, you know, they always take advantage of us college students. We'll live anywhere, sleep anywhere, we don't really care. But it wasn't clean when my roommate and I moved in. And I remember when we did the walkthrough thinking that if I ever became a landlord or, you know, anything in this realm of realty, that I would make sure that all the places that I would expect other people not only to live, but to pay money for, was up to the standard of somewhere that I would live. And I think that the defendant couldn't even say that she would be willing to move in there and live there in the condition that it was in either on the 12th or the 13th. You know, that's a big deal.
Yeah, they wanted a place to live.
So I think her claim that they never planned on signing the lease or they were trying to take advantage of her, I don't believe any of that. No mother packs up an 18-month-old for no reason.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they were hoping to make a new life. It didn't work out. Yeah, she's a young person to have a little real estate business, 4 properties that she owns, and I give her credit for that. But you can't be a slumlord.
Yeah, I give her credit too.
Yeah.
But if you want 4 properties, they have to be 4 properties that you'd be willing to live in yourself, not
That's
subpar.
the answer. That's the answer.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to
Told him things he wasn't ready to hear. The shelter had found information that linked Faye to an abandoned litter of puppies found in another part of town, and the details surrounding that discovery painted a picture he hadn't expected. As he sat by the fire, his mind drifted back to that rainy evening when he first found Faye. She had been just a tiny, shivering creature, helpless, alone, and abandoned by the world. He had seen the same vulnerability in her eyes that night, the same fear that gripped her when she first lay trembling in his arms. Now, he understood why. The shelter had informed him that Faye's litter had been left at the edge of the forest, a place not far from where he had found her. It was clear now that she had been abandoned, left to fend for herself. Her connection to that place, to the trees, to the wilderness was no accident. Faye had come from there. Mr. Callan leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees as he stared into the flames. The fire crackled softly, but the silence in the room felt deafening. He thought about all the times he had told himself that Faye had been rescued from the brink of death, that she was safe now, that they were together. But the truth he had been avoiding was now inescapable. Faye had never truly been free from her past. The dark, painful memories she carried with her had been hidden, but they were always there, lurking in the corners of her mind. Faye's sudden disappearance, her frantic behavior, the way she had run off into the woods, it was all part of a deeper wound, one that Mr. Callan couldn't fix, no matter how hard he tried. The realization hit him hard, a weight that pressed down on his chest, making it difficult to breathe. His gaze shifted to Faye, curled up by the fire, her tiny body still trembling slightly. She had returned to him, but she wasn't the same puppy he had found on that rainy evening. The innocence in her eyes was gone, replaced by a shadow of something more painful, something rooted deep in her past. Mr. Callan reached out, stroking her fur gently, but his touch was absent, as if he too were trying to comfort a piece of his own broken heart. He had always known that rescuing Faye wasn't just about saving her from the cold and hunger, it was about giving her a chance to heal. But the wound she carried was deeper than he could have imagined. There was no simple solution, no easy way to fix the brokenness inside her. The shelter had also mentioned that Faye had been seen running toward a particular area of the forest, an area that was known for being home to wild animals. It was possible that Faye had been seeking something, perhaps a connection to the place where she had been born, or perhaps something she didn't even understand herself. For the first time since he had brought her home, Mr. Callan understood that Faye's journey was not just one of survival. It was one of finding her place in a world that had abandoned her, of confronting a past that would always haunt her. And no matter how much Mr. Callan loved her, there was nothing he could do to erase the pain she had endured before he found her. The room was cold now, the fire dimming as the night stretched on. Faye, still curled in her bed, seemed to sense his shift in mood. Her eyes, once distant and searching, now seemed to soften as she looked up at him. There was a quiet understanding in those eyes, a silent acknowledgement of the bond they shared. Despite everything, despite the pain, despite the confusion, Faye had found a place with him. And in that place, she would find some semblance of peace. Mr. Callan couldn't fix everything. He couldn't change the past, and he couldn't make Faye forget what she had been through. But he could be there for her, just as he had promised when he first found her on that rainy evening. And in return, Faye would teach him something he hadn't fully realized yet, that healing wasn't a destination, but a journey, and that sometimes love wasn't about saving someone from their past, it was about walking beside them as they faced it. As the night wore on, Mr. Callan sat by the fire, lost in thought. The memories of Faye's past would always linger, but he knew now that the most important thing he could give her was the time and patience to heal. She might never fully forget where she came from, but in time, she might learn to live with it. And for Mr. Callan, the journey of healing had only just begun.